Okay, so if I can get everybody to just jump onto our website. I just want to go through things really quickly, just a quick rundown. So if you can go to Canvas, and in Canvas, just really fast, I'm going to walk everybody kind of through what I've done here, what you can expect to get from this as well. So this is advanced retouching. This is my contact information right here. If you click on this, this is where my office is, my office hours. This is my cell number. This is my website. Again, office hours or by appointment only. Please reach out to me sooner than later. Important dates. This matters. The drop date for this class. No, not the drop date for this class. The date to add is a week from yesterday. So next Monday is the last day you can add a class. So if you're going to make changes, just keep that part in mind. The last date to withdraw from this class is going to be November 7th. And then there's all sorts of other dates in here that you just need to be aware of. If it's something you're considering doing, please come talk to me first about that. I'll see if I can't talk you out of it. Working our way down about this course. This is all the boilerplate stuff, guys. So it describes what the course is about, the prereqs, all of that kind of stuff. There's a list of 5 books right here, none of which you need to buy. These are books that have actually helped me out through my pathway and all of this. This first one, Photoshop CS4 Channels and Masks, has been out of print for ages. Hopefully you can find a used copy of it if you want to. Again, you do not need to buy any of these books. This one on the digital negative, written by Jeff Shiwi, is all about working in Camera Raw or Lightroom. How many people are still doing most of their work in Lightroom? Okay. No, that's fine. I mean, the majority of what you do in Lightroom is very similar to what you're going to do in Camera Raw. Again, I'm going to show you strategies for taking files from Lightroom into Photoshop, but for the most part, all of the work that we do in this class is going to be in Photoshop. So anyway. This last book on here, it's the Adobe Photoshop for Photographers. It's this is, I don't know what version of this. This is maybe the 2018 version. It's a book written by a guy named Martin Evening. He's no longer with us, but it's like the Bible for people who really want to do industrial grade Photoshop. So if your goal in Photoshop is to use the liquify tool to do twirly faces and make anime, then that's not the book for you. But anyway, we have a copy of this book. I will show it to you. Well, here it actually may be. No, I'll show it to you in a different place. With the library, there's a digital copy of this. You don't have to buy this book, but if there's something that you want to look up in it and find, there is an electronic version of it. I'll show you the links to it. It's kept here it's a digital version in the library. So you can read the whole book. For that matter, you can actually download a PDF of the book. So, but nonetheless, you need hard drives in this class. We exchange files in this class, so you need a way to actually bring stuff to submit for your assignments and then to also take stuff away. So we are going to start in just a second as soon as I get through this. I'm going to try to get you on. We use an online server here. It's a server that's maintained by the college to exchange files. A lot of the files that I will ultimately get, typically when students turn in assignments in this class, it'll be like 5 or 6 gigabytes worth of stuff that I need to download. Canvas can't handle that. So don't even try to submit me something via Canvas. It won't be able to take it, so don't even try. So what we use is a server to exchange files. So I am going to show you how to get onto this server. All of the assignment files that I've got for the entire semester are there for you to copy. And that way you will have them forevermore. So if for some reason you can't make it to class, and you can still work on the assignments, you will have everything. Does that make sense, everyone? But then the following week, when you go to turn in your assignment file, you will again then put those assignment files up onto our server so that I can collect them and grade them. We will go through all of this process together. Your first assignment that you're really going to turn in won't be until the 3rd week. So there's a set of assignments for this week that'll be due next week, but they are in large measure nothing that I can see or grade. So then the assignment that you get next week, you will turn in on the third week. We will do it all together. So don't worry about that part anyway. So anyway, the rest of this going down. How many people in this room have a backup of their work? How many don't? If you don't have a backup of your work, you don't like your work, you don't care about your work, you're going to lose your work. I guarantee you that. You will lose it. Get another hard drive and back your shit up. The grade policy is the grade policy, blah, 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 blah. You can go through this. There are weekly assignments. You will have an assignment in this class every single week. You'll have a week to work on it. There is a final project due in this class. The final project, again, as I said, that's going to be the only thing that is your original work. However, that part really matters. Your original work for that assignment matters. You can read about this all now if you want to. It's all this materials here to get through it. But basically what I'm looking for in your final project is for you to take the skills that you've actually developed in this class and apply it to something that matters to you. I do not want, I will say this right here from the very beginning, I do not want anybody to turn in something in this class for their final project that they don't want in their portfolio. It is a waste of your time. I want it to be your work, but more importantly, I want that work to work for you. I want you to build your portfolio in this class. I want you to, whatever it is you do, I want this to actually help you when you finally do make that exit out of here, that you've got something that can get you a work, that can get you a job. What's the most important thing in your work? Number one thing. Anyone. The creativity.
Confidence.
The what?
Confidence.
Confidence.
It's the way you want it to look.
The way you want it to look. To be proud of it. To be all excited. All that kind of stuff. Right? All of that. You're all wrong. It's the money. Single most important thing in your career. Single most important thing in your career is the money. Because if you don't make the money, you will stop doing the work. And then what are you? You're just somebody else who went to art school. Don't ever forget that part. It's about the money. Believe me, I never forgot that part, and it worked out really well for me. That's why I preach that shit to you. So is your art important? Of course it is, but only in as much as it gives you the chance and the wherewithal and the means to continue to make your art. I have no idea when I got on that turn. You will come to know that I actually am prone to go off on tangents in any direction at any moment of any time and have absolutely no relationship at all to what we were just talking about. But anyway, that's how it is. So further on down here, attendance. So all I can say about this is do not make the mistake of thinking, well, Versa records these, so I don't have to come to class. I'll just watch the video. It doesn't really work that way. You will hate your life if you end up doing that. Again, I tried to have us working on files here in class for the majority of the class. So we're doing the same thing. It doesn't translate if you're doing it watching a video 2 hours later. You can't ask a question. You can't say, wait a minute, I'm lost, blah, 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 blah. So anyway, don't make that mistake. So attendance, I will say this, if you miss 4 classes, it's an automatic failure. Don't miss 4 classes. Use of digital devices in this class. I'm on the fence about this stuff, to be honest with you. You're all on computers, so you're really already on digital devices. If you want to take notes on your phone, that's fine. If you want to make a phone call, check your social media site, do any of that kind of stuff, do everybody in this class the favor of simply getting up, walking out to the room in the very next room, and social media your little heart to death. Just don't do it here in front of me. It pisses me off, and I am well, not going to go there. It pisses me off. Anyway, you can read all the stuff about, I don't know, I guess we're not calling it diversity and inclusion anymore. I don't know what we're calling it, but it's the same thing. And land management, religious holidays, all this stuff, blah, blah. This is all the boilerplate. You guys know all about this stuff. So anyway, that's what that is. Going back to our home screen. Canvas, this is a guide. If you don't know how to do something in Canvas, simply click on this. This is the guide that's actually maintained by the people who write and run Canvas. So if you don't know how to respond to a chat or something, anything, you don't know how to do it, this is the place to go. Most of you, do I have any... Again, I don't want to point you out, so I don't want to make anybody feel weird, but do I have any transfers in here who are not familiar with Canvas by any chance? So everybody's sort of okay with Canvas, kind of good. Okay, again, if you're struggling with it, do not hesitate to reach out. Most of what happens in Canvas is kind of a give and take part. Once you get used to that part, I don't do weird fancy shit in Canvas. I don't do really serious discussions. There is one discussion that we do. It's when you actually, our first assignment, you introduce yourself, but it's pretty straightforward. And my instructions and usually all of my assignments are pretty straightforward. So, but nonetheless, don't hesitate to reach out. I don't call it weeks. I call these sessions because there are times that I've taught this class where we will do 2 sessions in a single week. So I don't do weeks, I just call it sessions. But for this class, every single session represents 1 week. There's 15 of them. This is one of the few classes that will actually meet 15 times during this semester, which is a good thing because there's that much material to get over. This is pretty friendly on your phone. So if you haven't downloaded the Canvas app on your phone, you certainly can. This will actually reform itself pretty well on a phone so that you can actually jump to stuff pretty quickly. So that's basically all that's going on here. I do make announcements to the class, so I welcomed you. Did everybody get my announcements somehow? They may not. Because typically what happens when I make an announcement is you get an email. And you can also see it as, if you log into Canvas, you can also see it as an announcement there. I just want to make sure that everybody's got, because if you didn't.
What announcement?
So just an announcement saying, hi, our Canvas site's up.
Oh, okay, I did see that.
Okay, yeah, that's all I've done so far. So it's just a check to make sure that because if you're not getting this stuff, there's settings that we need to go and fix. So if you take a look on the right-hand side of this will be all the shit that is actually coming up. So coming up is assignment 1.1, 1.2, all that. You can see that part right here. If you click on the syllabus that's on the far left side and open this up, it will actually show you all your due dates and everything that's actually coming up. So you will see that next week, Tuesday, September 9th, these 5 assignments are going to be due. And I know you're saying to yourself, fuck me, I've got 5 assignments already. Are you kidding me? It's a lot of, like I said, it's a lot of like checking out a Wacom tablet. Not really something that you're going to have to spend hours working on. There's also a calendar up here. These are the list of our dates. If you click on one of these dates, it'll show you what's due for that. So this is just a way for you guys to realize what's really going on. If you're the type of person that likes printed syllabi, click on this full syllabus to view or download. It is a complete version of everything. It's got everything that'll be on the Canvas site, including a weekly schedule down here at the bottom. So in this, it'll show you what I hope to get over. So for this week, I hope to get over file naming, Photoshop preferences, color settings, workspaces, environment color theory, and custom brushes, although I doubt I'll get to custom brushes. But nonetheless, that's what's going on in here. One of the things I don't like about Canvas is it's very hard to get a snapshot of an overall, like it's impossible to look at like a month at a time, right? It just is. So this will allow you to do that, more of an overview kind of thing. So just so that you're aware of it, it's there. Then going back to our home, that's pretty much everything that's on the home page right here. If you click on session 1 or go to the modules tab, either way, it'll start up at the very top. These are the college resources that sit up here at the very top. If you get into any kind of jam, if you can't eat, you can't find food, if you can't get a winter coat, if your roommate is like threatening you, if your dog is sick, if you're whatever it is, whatever thing could possibly happen in your life where you need help and assistance, that's what this whole thing up here is about. This is where you go to actually get help if you need any. And do not Do not hesitate to do this. So again, these are what all these links are about. There's also a scholarship finder here. You can use that. There's also, if you need, your computer's not working, this is information about the tech bar. So that's basically the stuff that's up at the very top. Then if you get to the next module down, this is the course overview, Advanced Retouching and Compositing. This class is divided roughly into 2 sections to 2. So we'll spend the first 5-6 weeks working on retouching, and then the rest of the semester working on compositing. You've got to get your retouching skills down before we get into the compositing part. That's just how it goes. But at any rate, it's important for you to take a quick look at this. I just want everybody to be aware of it. Every assignment that you turn in for this class needs to have a specific naming. It needs to be named with your last name _ first name _ assignment number. I'll show you what that is in a second. And if there are multiple images that you're turning in, you have 2 options. You can either number the individual images, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever, or you can just use this naming assignment for a folder and dump all your images in a folder, and I'll know what's really going on there, so no need to worry about that. However, this highlighted thing at the bottom down here is really critical. All the files that you are going to be working on in this class are copyrighted by me, and you cannot use them for anything except this class. You cannot put them on your social media, you can't put them into your portfolio, you can't do anything with them. I have copyright. A lot of this is professional work that I've done, and I have copyright and releases for that work, but it isn't for you. And so this actually happened to me. There was a end of one semester, there was a student who had taken a group of images that she'd retouched, beauty stuff that she'd retouched in this class, and she made posters, and she blanketed the entire the campus with her posters. So my pictures are like everywhere. And they were of a extremely famous model in New York who, if her or her agency had ever caught wind of that, they would have sued me, they would have sued the person who did it, they would have sued the college too. So we don't really want the college to get sued, right? So just be aware of that. You cannot do anything with these images other than your assignment. Are we square on that part? Okay. If we go to the next thing down, you'll see all of my stuff is broken down, and every single week that you look at, there will be an overview that's basically, this is what we're going to do. Underneath that is always going to be a set of resources, and resources are readings that I want you to do, videos that I want you to watch, or just support things that are there for you if you need them. So for instance, if we take a look at this first one, there's a set of readings. How this course works, attendance policy, late assignment policy, which we haven't gotten to yet. These are all things that you should be aware of, right? Support though, this is just how you get to my YouTube channel. If you don't ever want to go to my YouTube channel, you don't have to go to my YouTube channel. LinkedIn Learning. How many people in here do LinkedIn Learning? It's this amazing resource for you. If you want to know how to do any weird thing there is at all, whatever, it's this incredible resource that the college, well, I always say that the college is paying for you, but the truth is you're paying for it. So, but it's a remarkable resource. You want to know how to do split frequency retouching? Well, I'm going to teach you a better way of doing it than they do, but at least you can get a head start on it if that's where you want to go. You want to learn how to design an Excel spreadsheet? Go for it. Anyway, so just to be aware of that. These are linked to a set of links down here that you might want to look at. Cambridge Color is it's a resource that if you want a deeper understanding of how focal plane shutter in a camera works, it's the place to go. If you want to understand how sensors are demosaiced, digital sensors, it's the place to go. If you want to understand why depth of field increases as you start to stop down, it's the place to go. It's just all things photography, very well, simply explained in a way that you're like, oh, okay, I get that part. It's a pretty remarkable resource. This Mac Performance Guide, it's actually done by a guy who, he goes by Digitaloid. He's a photographer, but he's also a Photoshop ace. And so what this is about is if you are interested in getting into really hardcore, high-end, intensive retouching. It's all about the gear that you need, how you configure the gear you need, all of this kind of stuff. I have the slowest connection, it seems like, in the world. Or with my luck, this is no longer goes to his website, but nonetheless, we'll let that run. Oh, there it is. So if you are interested in building RAID arrays as a backup for your imagery, or RAID arrays to actually supercharge your input output from hard drives, whatever, this is the guy who can talk to you to death about all of it. He also gets into cameras and all of that kind of stuff. So anyway, it's a resource for you. But again, in that being said, in the things that I've got under support, I don't expect you to read these things. I expect you to know that they're there. And if something comes up and you say, oh God, I'd like to get the fastest hard drive in the world so that my work speeds up, then you can go here. So it's like, I would never ask you to read the phone book, but if you need, do you guys know what a phone book is? Yeah, okay. If I ask you to look up a number in the phone book, it's a really great thing to have, right? But I would never expect you to read the phone book, right? That's what support is all about. Again, suggested texts are right here, blah, 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 blah. Okay, we're almost there, guys. We're almost there, and we're gonna take a quick break in a sec. So that gets to college resources, the first overview. So session one, in session one, again, it's the same breakdown. There's an overview, there's some resources, and then everything underneath this is an assignment. So I'm gonna tell you this right now. We're all adults in this space. If I have time at the end of a class, I will go over assignments. If you have looked at one of them and you have some questions about it and you want to stop me and just say, Versa, I was reading over that assignment 1.8, I don't get it. I'm welcome to have that conversation. But I'm not the kind of person who feels like you need me to tell you every week there are assignments that you need to do and let's go over them. I'm telling you right now, every single week there are assignments and they're all right here. Make sense? Okay, so I don't do a whole lot of hand holding, but, well, I've been married 38 years. I hold my wife's hand. Oh, isn't that cute? Jesus, you guys are a hard crowd. Nothing. Anyway, okay, so really quickly in our overview, if you take a look at it, so we're going to cover file naming, preferences in Photoshop, color settings, workspaces, Wacom tablet setups. We will not be able to get to that today because you don't have them yet, but you will. Environment, color theory, and custom brushes. How many people in this room have had any color theory at all? When you say color theory, what are you talking about? Mm-hmm.
Granted years ago, but yeah, I've done color studies in the past.
Okay.
It's one of the main parts of my work.
Yeah, yes.
Well, more along the lines of I've read Goethe's color theory several times.
I'm sorry, what?
Goethe.
Oh, yeah. So when you say color theory, there's kind of like two different, like versions of it. There's the technical aspect of it about how you create this or what's going on, and then there's the, for lack of a better way of putting it, the more emotional, philosophical version of it all. This is the more technical, hardcore version part of it all. I have tried to, every single semester, I try to pare this thing down to get it more concise. I've got it pretty concise right now. Hope I haven't gotten it too concise, but nonetheless, we will get to that today. Then finally, we're almost there. I'm going to go back to the modules really quickly. So, one of the things I didn't say about here, because it wasn't in resources, just so that you know, I'm going to go back up to our course overview really quickly. So, do you know what a flipped classroom is? So a flipped classroom is, like right now, I'm going to give you a lecture today on color theory. And so then you're going to go home and you're going to think about it and you're going to rewatch the video if you do it. And that's how typical classrooms work, right? What a flipped classroom would be is, had we met last week and I actually gave you a video on color theory and said, watch this first, and then we'll talk about it. when you get here today. That's what a flipped classroom is, right? So I don't flip this classroom, but I give you the opportunity to do it for yourself. This is a link to all of the 15 classes that ran last semester. Now, a lot of it is the same, a lot of it, the pacing, but it's not the exact same class. Things have there's a whole new AI section that's now involved in this class that did not exist in the classes last semester. So it's not a direct, but if you want to sort of get ahead of something like that, it's available to you. You don't have to use it. I just want you to know it's there. That's all. It's a resource that existed. All right, so anyway, overview, so resources. If you take a look at our first assignment, introduce yourself and attach a picture and reply to 2 posts. And like I said, I'm pretty explicit in my instructions. If you click on this, it will walk you through and tell you what it is I need. It'll actually give you a link that tells you how to do this if you don't already know how to do this. But it's a way for me to get to know you, to put a face with a name and a name with a face for your fellow students to also start to, I mean, a lot of you guys know each other, but a lot of you guys don't. So it's that sort of like community building, for lack of a better way of putting it. So that, that's basically what that is. If we take a look at the next assignment, set up your system. We are going to go through a very specific way to set up your systems. Things to avoid, workspaces. I work in a custom workspace. I strongly encourage you to adopt my custom workspace for retouching. So there's certain things that we need to see the whole time. And so that's basically how this whole thing is set up. But you will see it today. We will get through all of these things today. We will also set up your system to try to be as fast and nimble as it possibly can be and avoid a lot of pitfalls. So that's basically what this is about. There's no way for me to grade this. If you don't do this, I'm never going to know. The next assignment down, what you'll notice about these assignments is that there was assignment 1-1, then there was 1-2, this is 1-3. All assignments have 2 numbers. The first number is the week or the session. The second one is the assignment number within it. So all the assignments from week number 1 will have a 1 to begin with and then a dot. So this next one is complete the readings that are in course resources. There are links to this. So this, if you click on this, will take you back to the session 1 resources, and I'm asking you to read this color primer. I'm not asking you to read all the support part right here, just the color primer. This is a pretty long piece. You don't need to read it all in one sitting. I would encourage you not to, unless you're that kind of reader. Take your time with this, but color is kind of the foundation of what we're dealing with here. Okay, let me just go back to the modules really quick and see what else is on the list. Check out a Wacom tablet. Anybody in this room have a graphics tablet? You are welcome to keep using that graphics tablet. That's a hell of a thing to lug around though, isn't it?
No, it's fine. I don't carry a lot.
Okay, I have 2 of them. This is one of them. I actually have a smaller one than this. The Media Center downstairs has these reserved for this class. You will check it out and keep it for the entire semester and then check it in at the end of the semester. So it's yours to keep and work with for the whole semester. They have a mix of big ones like this. These are medium ones actually, and a little bit smaller ones. I prefer the smaller ones personally, just because I don't like carrying shit around. And the thing about it is that how many people have never worked with a graphics tablet? Okay, so that's good. No bad habits to break. Most of what happens in this class, you're working in a very small confined space. You don't need big broad gestures in this. If you are an illustrator or a painter, you want as big a canvas as you can get so that you can do big broad strokes, but that's not what we really do in this class. So if you feel like you've gotten a small one and it's like, I don't know, you have some reservation about that, don't worry about that. I've spent my life working on smaller ones than this. So, but anyway, I need you to get that thing checked out by next week. So to do it, they're very particular in the Media Center about this. You need to email Mimi. This is her email address at the Media Center. Give them a time when you want to come pick it up and check it out and that kind of stuff. And they will have it actually ready for you to do that part, okay? please have this by next week because we need to install the preferences. We need to make sure that they're all working, blah, 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 blah. Are we good on that part? Okay. And then the last thing is to install software that you're going to find in the retouching assignment folders. There is calibration software that I'm going to ask you to install. We'll actually talk about that in just a second. Okay, so typically right now I would take a break, but what I want to do, if we can, this is going to blow up in my face, never mind. I've got 2 minutes after 2, make this a hard 10. I need you back here at 2:12 and we will jump into it. Any questions about anything so far? Yes. Oh. Okay. I'm not shaming anybody here. I need to know how many people in this room are working in Windows. Okay. No, I just if this was going to be all Mac or all Windows, then I'll have to show both. But obviously, I got to show both here, which is fine, no problem. So I need everybody to go to our Canvas site again, please. And the thing that you are looking for, depending on what OS you're working with, go to your Session 1 resources, and underneath support, you will see there is a PDF that's connect to class projects via Macintosh, and right underneath it is a collect to class projects via Windows, both fall of 2025. If you're a Windows person, open up the Windows version. If you're a Mac person, open up the Mac version. I'm going to go through them both. If we have a problem or a struggle with this, then I've got these on a hard drive. I will simply pass around the hard drive, and at some other point, maybe, again, if we have trouble getting onto this server, it's a brand new server right now, so there might be issues with this. If we have problems getting on the server, we can either then meet a little bit early next week, whatever. We will get this resolved one way or the other. But open up your respective OS and take a look at what it says. I'm going to do the Mac version first, and I'm just going to show you exactly the way I would do it. The Mac version is simple, so you can read through these instructions. You have these instructions. It'll exist there forever. So I'm going to walk you through this. If you're on the Mac version, you can do this with me, or you can watch me do it and then go back and do it yourself. But the first thing that you need to do is you need to copy this link right down here, this thing that says SMB. Don't click on it to load it. You need to copy it. So you need to copy the entire link.
I'm having trouble finding where pages is.
I'm sorry?
I can't find where pages is. It's not on the left. Don't see anything where pages.
Yeah, so go to modules.
Oh,
We're actually now into the weeks and stuff. And then scroll down. And it's right in here. It's in one resources. And this is not looking like it wants to let me actually copy this. You can actually type this stuff out if you're that good. I'm not. It looks like it wants to copy the entire thing, so I'm going to go ahead and open this guy up. So click on your download button. I keep a trash folder for stuff just like this, so I know at the end of the year I can just go in and throw all this shit away. It actually then will allow me to go to that, double click on this to open it up in either Preview or in Acrobat. And then I can hopefully go down here and select just this link. Yes, I can. So for the Macintosh people, you need to select that link, and then you need to go to your Finder. So the Finder is the cute little smiley face. And in the Finder, there is a Go menu at the very top. So there's Finder, File, Edit, View, Go. If you click on the Go menu, you'll get a drop-down menu. Come down to Connect to Server. And then you are going to paste that thing that you just copied into the box that's at the very top. Now, once you paste that in, before you hit Connect, you want to click on this little plus sign down at the bottom, because what that'll do is it will add that address in your favorite section so that from now on, you don't have to go find that PDF, copy that link, whatever. All this is just a reference for you. And then you want to hit connect. Now, I've already connected to this. When you do it the first time, it's in all likelihood going to ask you, it's the typical login that you would get on one of these computers. It's going to ask you for a password. As a student, your username is your Oasis ID or your My Columbia ID, followed by your password. Once you do this, there's somewhere on your screen that says, remember this, there are little check marks or whatever. So hopefully you only have to do it the first time, and then simply click on connect. Once you do that, yes?
Does it matter because it says connect as guest or registered user, does it matter which one you choose?
No, you want to do it as registered user because that's what you are, yes.
Neither of us have gotten to whatever you're going to even download.
That's because you're on Windows.
Okay.
So hold off, we'll get to Windows.
Thank you.
I knew. So this is Mac only. Okay, did it work? Okay, so once you get to there, you should get this thing that shows up on your screen. It's the photography server. Inside of that, there will be a folder called Class Projects. Inside that Class Projects folder will be another folder that says Engelhard. That's my last name. Once you click on that, you will see two folders. One of them is called Dropbox, which is where you will put all of your homework for the rest of the semester. The other is called Retouching Assignments Fall 2025. You need to copy that entire folder somewhere that you copy it to the desktop on your hard drive of your computer, copy it onto an external hard drive. It's about a little over 8 gigabytes. So if you've got a small thumb drive, it's not going to fit on that. Anyway, you need to copy this thing. Now, it's going to be here all semester. So if for some reason you lose it or whatever, you can go right back and get it again. I don't want you to copy week by week. That will defeat the whole purpose. If you don't feel like you've got enough room on a hard drive, you need to get another hard drive. So for the Macintosh people, is this working for you? Anybody not?
I don't know where I'm supposed to be right now.
Are you on Macintosh or Windows?
I'm on Mac.
Okay, then did you copy that link?
No.
Okay, so the first thing to do, just copy the link. Yeah, so you can't do it from in here. I couldn't do it from in here either, so just download this thing. And then go to it and open it. And then you need to copy it now. You don't want to click on it, you want to copy it. Yeah. Perfect. Got it? And then you're going to go to your Finder. And you're going to go to the Go menu. Down to Connect to Server. And you're going to paste that thing in. And before you, that's all right. That's all right. Let's try one more time. Connect to Server. Hit that little plus button first. That will save it for you there. And then hit Connect. And then it's going to say, your attempt to connect. And say yes. Connect. And then it's going to again ask you for, and it's asking, you've got your username in there. That may work. You may have to use your Oasis ID number. I don't know which one. Okay. It may, but tell me if you don't connect.
For the username and password and stuff?
Say what?
Is your full email with @Columbia and then
It is because you would have thought that they would have updated this thing that tells me that instead of telling me that it's your My Columbia number. But so what I'm understanding is it is your full email, Columbia email address, including the colum.edu is what your username is, and then your password, and it should get you in. And hopefully you won't have to ever put that part in again. Is it working? Yep, so Engelhard, nope, Dropbox is where you do your homework. It's this Retouching Assignments folder, copy that entire, you don't want to open it, you want to copy the whole thing to your desktop.
Thank you.
Okay, is everybody else good on that in the Mac world? Oh, no?
It's actually so your full.
Right, and then your password.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I just did it.
So in class, open up class projects. up Engelhard. That's the folder you want to copy to your desktop. Anybody else? Then we will figure this out. But in the meantime, I'm going to give you that same folder is on this. So if you're, depending on which connection you have, that you've got this connection. So plug that guy in, I'll show you what you're looking for.
I think he's got it.
It's that whole folder. You want to copy that somewhere? Yes.
What's wording?
Yep. So look in class projects in Engelhard. It's that folder right there, the Retouch and assignments folder.
Okay.
Copy that whole thing to your desktop.
Okay.
Or to wherever, to your download folder, wherever you want to put it. Anybody else in the Mac world? Okay, for the Windows people, go back to our same resources from session number 1. And in our session number 1 resources, the very next PDF down is Connect to Class Projects via Windows. And if you click and open this one, this walks you through all the instructions that you need to actually connect your Windows computer to this very same place. So in this one, it's a little bit more complicated. It's probably easiest to type this stuff in. You might be able to copy it. But for the Windows people, okay, first off, number 1, you need to be connected to the college's internet. You obviously you're connected or you wouldn't be. Yeah, you just can't be connected via your phone. If you're doing it via your phone, you got to be in the college's network. By the way, getting stuff off and putting stuff on, you've got to be here on campus. You got to be on the college's network. You can't, if you're off campus, there is a way to do it, but it's extremely complicated and you don't want to feel that pain. So if that is the case, again, I'm on a tangent, but nonetheless, I'm thinking about it. If that is the case, and you have got a file that you want to submit, it's your homework, and you want to submit it on time, but you're sick, you're in bed, you cannot get to campus, so you cannot get access to this server, you can use a file transfer service to actually send it directly to me. I don't want the entire class doing that because then I end up getting 20 emails that I've got to then go through and download all that shit from. It's a nightmare. But if that's the case, circumstances demand that, that's fine. And I can walk you through the free file transfer services that will let you do really big files and get them to me, so not to worry about that. But at any rate, if you're on the Windows people, hopefully this will make sense to you. You need to right-click your Start menu and click on Run. Say what?
Yeah, no.
Okay, so once that part is open, then in the run box, the open thing, you need to type this exact same thing that's in here. You can actually copy and paste it, but you might want to type it in. However, there are opening quotes and close quotes for this. You need to include the quotes in what you type. So it would be opening quote / colum.edu /ACADEMICS / all caps photo PHOTO close quotes, and then hit OK. And that too should take you to a login page where you then again, Columbia, your username. So that's how they've got it right here. I think it's the same thing.
No login page, just opened a Windows folder.
It just opened what?
A Windows folder.
Oh, let me see.
Got stuff in it, it's fine, assuming it's the right one, but it didn't ask for anything.
No, perfect.
It didn't ask me for anything.
There you go.
We're good.
So you're going to double click then on class projects. Inside of class projects, there should be an Engelhard folder. Inside the Engelhard folder should be two folders, one that says Dropbox, the other that says underscore all assignments of answer to whatever. It's the that assignment folder you want to copy to your down to a hard drive, your computer, your download folder, your whatever. You guys now have all of the assignment files for this class. We good on this part? Crowd goes wild. Wow, this is so much easier. Usually when I do this, this alone takes an hour. But you all are exceptionally smart. I'm excited about this group. Okay. Really quickly, I'm going to go on a sort of a tangent. Again, if hopefully everybody is still on their the session 1 resources, I want to show you just a couple of other things that are in here. There is a Wacom Intuos CTL 4100 user guide. You don't really need to worry about this a whole lot. You can set up your Wacom tablets to do really strange things for you. They're very highly customizable. My suggestion is when you first start out, you don't customize anything. You leave everything at its defaults. You get used to working with a graphics tablet, and then you can go in and customize it to your heart's content. That's the only reason that's there. There's another one about Photoshop preference locations. Now, the reason this comes up, something has already come up here. I'm sorry, what's your name again? Elin. Has their computer set up with all their preferences that they've been working with for years. They don't want to change them. You can actually take all of your preferences, and if you know where they are, you can grab that entire group and save it out to a hard drive or to another desktop, so that if something goes horribly wrong, you don't have to then go in and reset and do all the work to reset your preferences. Or if you want to go back and forth between two sets of preferences for different reasons, you can simply trade them. This thing that says where Photoshop preferences are located gives you that ability. It'll tell you where that folder is so that you can go get those things. For me, I don't think going back and forth between sets makes a lot of sense. I think go ahead and leave your preferences the way you want to leave them. We are going to go through the entire preference setup. I'm going to tell you how I set mine up and why I set mine up. But then we are going to build a custom workspace, and that you can have an infinite number of custom workspaces. So that's not going to be a problem for anyone to actually have that custom workspace, because you can go back and forth. You don't have, it's not a question of taking a deep dive somewhere into your computer, pulling a whole set of preferences out, putting a whole nother set. It doesn't work like that at all. So anyway, that's kind of be the game that we're going to go after. There's a file naming convention that I want to look at with you guys right now, because I think this part's important. And then finally, if you are thinking about buying a monitor, what most people do when they get into serious work in Photoshop, working on a laptop is a nightmare. 2 reasons. Number 1, the screen's too small. Number 2, color sucks. The color gamut of these things is horrible. So most people, myself included, will use a laptop to drive a much larger monitor. If that is something that you're interested in, then there's 2 resources down here for you to actually read about monitors, understand the language, and then also look at what I consider to be the best source for monitors. And they talk about rating monitors and what's good about them, bad about them, all that kind of stuff, whatever. So again, a resource for you only if you're interested. But I do want to start with this file naming convention. So if you can simply click on that, we don't have to download this thing. You can simply take a look at it. How many people in this room have a standardized naming convention for every file you shoot? Go, raise your hand, be proud. And what's your naming convention? How does it work? Date? Okay. Okay, so it's kind of a variation on the one that I'm going to suggest. I'm going to show you mine. Now, you can embrace mine, you can use mine, you can say, no, I don't want to use yours, but what you cannot do, or what I'm going to beg you not to do, is don't ever name your, I had the very first guy who taught me Lightroom, he actually gave out files for us to work on, and his naming convention was like flowers. That was it. Flowers. And I was like, I can't tell anything from that, right? Flowers? And then just a nightmare. Or fruit. That gives me a lot to go on, right? So this is the naming convention that I've been using for decades. I'm going to go through it with you guys really quickly. It's a variation on what you do. Number one, it always starts with date. You want your files to be in chronological order. How many files do you shoot in a year? Thousands, if not tens of thousands. It can easily get to hundreds of thousands. And you have no way to sort that shit? No. So it always starts with date. However, here in the US, we don't understand date formatting very well, right? Because we always start with the month followed by the day and the year. So if you use that system, then all of your Februaries will be together. And all of your Mays will be together. So that is not chronological order. I've been shooting for digital since 2004. That's 21 years. Is that right? Yeah, I got 21 years worth of shit. I don't want 21 Januaries to be together and then 21 Februaries to be together. That's not chronological order. That's a nightmare to me. So you have to start with the year. You use 4 digits for your year, even though none of you, myself certainly, will probably not live into the next century. So conceivably, every year that you ultimately do here, you don't need the 20 to begin with. You could just do 25, but is 25 then the year or is 25 the day? So it's all 4. So 2025 followed by the month, whatever the month is, followed by the day. So in our case, today would be 20250902. That is the day's date, and that is the first part of what you name your file, followed by an underscore. Then for me, because I work for multiple clients, I actually put in a 3-digit client code. It's just an identifier. So if I'm shooting for myself, it's VER, Verser, that's me. If it's Neiman Marcus, it's NEI. If it's Carson Perry Scott, it's CAR. If it's General Motors, it's GEN. It's just a quick tag, 3 letters, that let me know who that was really quickly, followed by another underscore. Then keywords, and keywords is plural. And the reason it is plural is that it gives you the number of letters you're allowed. Keywords is 8 letters. You can have a keyword that's shorter than 8 letters, but you can't have one that's longer. And the reason you can't have one that's longer is that we're going to max out the legal limit of a file name for a Unix server. Now, I know that sounds like a lot. We'll get to this and what that really means in just a second. So my keyword can be beauty. So if I'm shooting beauty for Neiman Marcus, I've got the date, NEI, it's Neiman Marcus, beauty, right? If it's fashion, fashion. I can all of that, anything under 8 letters I can get in is fine. Then another underscore, and then I have a 2-number separator. So for me, when I shoot, a typical fashion day for me can be 15 to 20 shots. That 2-digit is my shot count, not my frame number, but my shot count. So it's outfit number 1, outfit number 2, outfit number 3, outfit number 4. It has to be both digits. If you only use 1 digit, so let's say you just do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1 and 11 will be right next to each other. 01 will keep it in order, but just 1 will then group it with 11, which you don't want. So a lot of people say to me, well, Verser, I shoot weddings. I don't do that. Think of your weddings as different shots, right? The bride getting ready in the morning is shot 1. The trip to the church is shot 2. The ceremony is shot 3. The portraits in front of the church is shot 4. The party afterward is shot 5. If you're lucky, they're taking you on the honeymoon, and that's shot 6, 7, and 8. But it breaks up your day. How many of you actually will do a shoot and you've got 5,000 files and you open it up and you are faced with 5,000 files and you're just like, oh my God, I've got to go through this. I hate my life. This will bring order to it. Finally, another underscore, and you put in a 3-digit frame counter. Typically, that's done by your software. So I shoot tethered with Capture One. It supplies that for me. If you're shooting tethered into anybody that you shoot tethered with, if you're doing a renaming and you're using it in Lightroom, whatever, the frame counter is automatic. And then finally, a dot and an extension. And the extension is your raw file. But the beauty of that is that if you process that raw file into a Photoshop file, the only thing that changes is the extension. It has the exact same name except for the PSD instead of a CR2 or an NEF. That keeps your raw file and your process file together. They have the exact same name except for the extension. If you do a JPEG, that's the only change, is the JPEG. If you make a log of the exposure settings or the work that you're doing in your retouching, if you keep a log that tracks that activity, it has the same name. It's just got the log extension. If you make a liquefied mesh filter, it has the same name except for the extension. It keeps all of them together and you never have to go looking for this stuff ever again. I'm telling you guys, change your life. Now, you don't need to do this. I'm not going to grade you on it, but I'm just telling you this. The worst thing that you can do is not do this. And the second worst thing you can do is do one version of it now and then change your mind in a year and say, you know, that verser hit made a lot of sense to me. I think I'm going to do his method now, because then you're going to be starting a whole new naming convention and all the shit before is not going to actually fit with it. So the last piece of advice I will give you about this. A lot of you are thinking to yourself right now, well, I haven't had a naming convention for years and I've got 100,000 files. Never look back. Start your method today going forward. And then when you get really old and you have nothing to do on your board, you can actually go back and rename all of those files that you shot that you have never looked at in years, right? Sorry about that. Questions? Yes?
You can like set this up as a preset in Lightroom.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
That's actually the way, if you, I did a whole workflow that was the college tried to adopt. For LightFlow that does exactly what you're saying. All of these are set up as presets. Yeah. Questions? Okay. This, by the way, is very different than the naming convention I just talked to you about when you turn your files in. When you turn a file into me, you are going to change its name. It's going to have your last name underscore your first name, the assignment number. That's what it's going to have. That's what you're turning into me. But those are two separate things entirely. Make sense? Okay. That's not a good sign. Okay, Photoshop. So first things first, if you've got Photoshop going, do me a favor and quit it. I'm going to quit mine right now. How do you reset your preferences in Photoshop? Now, I don't want you to actually do this. We're going to go through all the steps to do it, but when it comes time to hit the button that says reset all this, do not hit that button, because otherwise it's going to reset all your preferences and your Photoshop is going to be exactly the way it works when Photoshop actually shipped it out. You don't want that. So, but I want you to know how to reset your preferences in case you have to. So why would you have to? When anything weird starts happening in Photoshop, you pick a brush and all of a sudden you're working with a paintbrush and all of a sudden it becomes the clone stamp tool. Or you've got the line tool, or you're working with the pen tool and all of a sudden it works like a brush and you're laying down ink. When weird shit like that starts to happen, there's a good chance you need to reset your preferences in Photoshop. So it's not the first move I would make. First move I would make would be to completely restart my computer. The second move I would make then is if that problem keeps happening, is to reset your preferences. So this is how you do it. Again, don't go all the way through with this. If you're on a Macintosh, what you want to do is you are going to hold down the Alt Shift. Oh, I take it back. That's Windows. If you're on Windows, we'll start with you guys first. On Windows, hold down the Alt, Control, and Shift key, and then start Photoshop, still holding them down. If you're on a Macintosh, you hold down the Option Command Shift. So Option Command Shift and then launch Photoshop. I'll show you what mine looks like. And it'll say, the first thing that comes up here is it'll say, do you want to delete Photoshop settings? Do not say yes. I actually had a whole room. This class used to be, everybody worked on a school computer. We reset all the preferences on the school computer in one shot, 20 sites, whatever. IT came after me in a big way because I really fucked up their lives. But at any rate, hit no. But that's how you reset your preferences. And then Photoshop should continue to go ahead and run. So this is the workspace that I use. We're going to make this. You guys are going to make your own one of this. We will do that together as a class. As a matter of fact, I'm going to change our lighting in here right now. So we're going to go through preferences one by one. In the Macintosh world, you get to, there's lights that are going to come on, guys. I mean, it will get a little bit brighter in here in just a second. In Photoshop, the way you get to them is you come up to, in a Macintosh world, up to the Photoshop menu, click on this, and you come down to Settings, and then there's a flyout menu that comes over to General. And you want to click General, and it'll open it up. All those other drop downs out of that menu exist in this left side right down here, so we can get to those one at a time. If you're in a Windows world, it's the Edit menu. You click on the Edit menu, and it's somewhere down near the bottom. I'm doing this from memory, but that's actually where you get to your preferences, these very same preferences that we're going to set. Once you get this preference dialog box open, it will be the same. So I am going to go through this. I'm going to tell you how I set mine up and the reasons that I set mine up, the way I set mine up. You do not have to follow this. You do not have to do what I do. If you've already got a set that are working and you like the way yours works, that's great. I'm just going to tell you what I do and the way I do it and the reason that I do it. But this is entirely up to you guys whether you embrace this part or not. I try to set mine up to be extremely efficient and fast. That's really the whole idea. Remember when we go back, what's the most important thing in your art, right? It's the money, right? Well, time is money, right? So I tell this people all the time, whatever. If you had to bid a retouching job, how would you bid it? I've got two beauty shots, whatever, real close up, tight stuff, whatever. For commercial stuff, I'm really excited about it. I want to use it in my book, and I'm going to approach you to actually do the retouching for me. What would you charge? Well, how would you begin to think about it?
Time, resources.
Yeah, most people would say time, right? Most people say, okay, well, I'll look at this. Well, he's a lousy photographer. I'm going to have to fix a lot of this. I can't believe he side-lit this girl and he wants it to be beauty. Jesus Christ. So it's going to take me 10 hours for each one. And so I want a decent rate, $50 an hour. I mean, that's how you would figure it out, right? Basically the way you would start. If that's how you're going to work, then my suggestion to you is that you get rid of that cute little laptop that you just got right now that's the Screamer, and you go find the oldest laptop that will still work. The slowest, oldest thing that you can find, oldest version of Photoshop, because if you're charging by time, you want to take as long as you can possibly take to do this work, right? 10 hours, screw that. I want to take 100 hours because I want to be paid for what's this 10-hour thing? I want 100 hours worth of work. Yeah. None of you would do that. So the real trick is, if you're doing it, you never bid it ever by time. That's usually how you think about it in your mind, but you always quote a price. And then you hope that you can get the work done in half the time you budgeted for, because then you've just effectively doubled your rate. Right? If my rate's $100 an hour and I say I'm going to do it in 10 hours, it's going to be $1,000, and I get it done in 5, that's $2,000 an hour that I'm doing. Yes?
Just
question of interest. Like, so my usual setup is I actually have things that I have as fake discounts. So if I want to charge the maximum for a client, I have this high rate, and then I can make it look like it's better to upsell them.
Oh, yeah.
And to lower the time.
Yes.
But
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, if they dislike someone, I'll just charge them max.
Yeah. All right. So anyway, so that's what we're going to do here. So I'm going to start going through this. Some of this stuff we're not going to change every single thing of it. Some of it we are. So I need everybody. So does everybody have their preferences dialog open? Set to the general tab at the beginning. Okay. In going down through these, number one thing I hate is that fucking screen, home screen that shows up every time you start it up where Adobe tries to sell you shit. That's this auto show home screen. Uncheck it. I don't want to be preached to every time I open this up by Adobe. They already have more than enough of my money. This use legacy new document interface. I prefer that. So what this is that if you hit Command New or you go up to your file menu and you do File New, and it opens up a blank window for you. It opens up a dialog that allows you to design your whatever your blank window, whatever your blank document's going to be. I hate the new version of it. It's really unintuitive. So I like the older version of it. The older version has things like if you have something on your clipboard, it offers to give you a screen the same size as your clipboard. If you have a file that's open, it will actually give you a way to create an exact copy of the dimensions of the file that's already open. It's so much better. So personally, I prefer to use the legacy one, so that's the one that I do check on here. This use legacy free transform at the bottom, when we get into doing compositing, we have to transfer elements in perspective, which means that you bring an element in, and as you make it larger or smaller, if you do it right, you set it up to track the perspective of the image or the background that you're bringing it into. Without this checked, without the old legacy free transform version, it does not work. So you don't have to check this now, but by the time we actually get to doing our compositing work and you want to actually transform or scale in perspective, you're going to have that thing checked. I also enable beep when done. If you've got an older computer or a not as powerful computer and if you do a Gaussian blur on a 5 gigabyte 16-bit depth file, it can take an hour. You want the computer to say, you want to go lay down, you want to have a cocktail, you want to do something, you want to go play, you want to take a shower, something, and you want it to beep when it's done. Like, okay, I'll come back now. Anyway, that's why I check that. Export clipboard. Nobody uses the clipboard to export out of Photoshop. It is a memory hog. If you put a 1 gigabyte file on your clipboard, you got a file, you Command C, copy it, you've lost a gigabyte of your memory. Memory is critical in all the work that we do here. You have crippled Photoshop. Nobody does this. People will export stuff out of Photoshop to get a copy of it, but nobody will copy this shit onto the clipboard. So I uncheck that. The rest of this you can actually leave at its defaults. Go to the next section down on the left-hand side, interface. In the interface, there are people who, for different reasons, will actually change the surround of Photoshop. They'll do things like make it white on the surround. The problem with doing that is that your eyes automatically adjust color and exposure to the brightest thing that your eyes can see right now. So, for instance, when I'm looking at this room right now and all those lights that are on that back wall right there, my eyes are setting what I would consider, the equivalent of a camera exposure to that, but it's also white balancing that. It's actually color correcting based on that. If you've got an image that does not correspond to this and you've got a much brighter surround, you will then have a perverted sense of the color of your image because your eyes are white balancing the surround. They're white balancing to the background of your image, not to the lightest, whitest point of your image. I always use, and I don't like the darkest one either. The darkest one, if you get any text like this thing up here, the show sampling thing, it's almost impossible to read if you use this darkest one. So I typically leave mine here like this. Speaking of, while we're here, If you go, again, with the Windows people, I'm not entirely certain how to do this, but you will know how to do this. For the Macintosh people, if you go to your Apple thing up at the very top and you come down to System Settings and you go to Displays, you can actually, I take that back, it's not Displays. Somewhere in here, you can actually say what you want your background screen to be of your desktop. How many people here have a picture of their cat on their desktop? Or a waterfall? Or your mom? Or your boyfriend? Well, what do you have on, what is your background? I'll show you what my background is. That's my background. That's what yours should be as well. Neutral gray for all the same problems we just talked about. So get rid of Buffy, or your boyfriend, or your girlfriend, or both your girlfriend and boyfriend, or it gets complicated. The rest of this, you can leave this all by default. Yeah. Workspace, next one down. Two things that I hate. This auto show, this open documents as tabs and enable floating document window docking. What this is that you all know what tabs are. Everybody works with tabs, especially in browsers. But in Photoshop, if you open two files in Photoshop, one of them is visible and the other one becomes a tab. And if you open a third one, then you end up with two tabs and a visible image. And it can go on and on and on. And if you're used to and comfortable working with tabs, that's fine. But you have to remember what the tab really is. So when we're doing compositing, a lot of times we are dragging elements from 4 or 5 images into a standard, into a mother image. And if you've got 6 tabs on the top and only one image that's visible, what one do you put it on? And did you get it on the right one? So for me, I hate tab behavior, so I turn it all off. And that's what these two things are about. If you love tab behavior, keep it on. But for me, I hate it. I want to see discrete images that I know I'm dragging this element into this image. That's just the way I work. It's a visual thing. Other than that, that's the only thing you would change there. Notifications, I am not a big fan of the rich tooltips. I do like tooltips. So what tooltips are is if you hover over a tool, you just get this little quick thing that says what it is. So, oh yeah, that's the clone stamp tool. If you enable rich tooltips, you get this whole little dialog box that comes out with a little movie in it. I don't need that little movie. It's a distraction. It takes up room for me. It covers shit that I want to see, so I turn off rich tooltips. But again, that's entirely up to you guys how you want to deal with that part. The tools is the next one down, and this I actually leave at its default. The next one down, history and content credentials. Any of you do history log? Why?
You can go back.
Well, you can't go back in history like you can in Lightroom.
It gives you an idea of what you've done.
It gives it an idea of what you've done, which is actually correct. So, but this is, no, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say your tools was different than mine, so I was gonna see if you could go back.
Oh,
Like all of mine were like.
oh, okay. Sure, sorry. You can watch the video too, though. No, I don't mind. Yeah, so this is what I do. And I think this is the default, actually, but... okay, so history and credentials. So this is history in a nutshell right here. Credentials now are becoming more of an issue for AI. So we're not going to get into that part of this right now. A lot of this is still, actually all of this is still in beta right now. So until it becomes a hardcore feature, not something I really want to, I don't want to be a beta tester for Photoshop and a lot of things, but nonetheless. But the history thing, if you click on the thing that says history log, it'll open up and you can see that there are options. You can say you can save your log to metadata, you can save it to a text file or both. And then you've got a drop-down menu here that allows you, this is where you could actually save the text file to. And then you've got what you want to save in terms of the log, either sessions only, concise, or detailed. And this is the reason, the one reason that I've always come up with that you would want to actually enable this. If you are working as a professional retoucher for somebody for money, you want to keep a log of the work that you do. So you would enable this, so you would turn on the history log. Yes, I'm going to do that. Metadata will actually copy what you do into the file itself. You don't need to keep it right there. It's just going to make your file bigger. You want to be able to actually have a text file and read it. So you actually pick text file, and then where it says choose, you're going to choose what the file of the name will actually be and where it's going to be put. You want to name it the exact same name as the image that you're working on, the name that we just talked about, and you want to put it right next to the image that you are actually doing this work on, so that you are not looking all over the place for where the hell did I put that text file. But then in the what you want to save, sessions only will give you when you opened the file and when you closed it. That's it. Concise will actually give you when you opened it, when you closed it, and when you do any sort of like significant change. When you pick a tool, like I picked the brush tool, or I added a layer, it'll record all of that. You don't want that. What you want is detailed, because what detailed will do is not only do when you open and close the file, not only do it when you pick the brush, it will do every single brush stroke that you make. So if you are painting on something and you go 1, 2, 3, that gets recorded as 3 steps. You working on a file, a typical file, a series file like I would work on whatever, I end up with a text file that's the size of a telephone book. It's hundreds and hundreds of pages. So that then when you give the work to the person that you're doing the retouching for, and they look at it and they say, well, yeah, I know we agreed on $2,000, but this doesn't look like $2,000 worth of work. You pick up your text file and you go, that's what I did, fucker, give me my money. And they will, because it's exhausting. Once you get paid, throw your text file away. Who cares? But just a word to the wise. What's the most important thing? The money. Anywho, again, I'm leaving the beta stuff off. Next one down, file handling. Most of this I'm going to leave at its default with one exception. I don't know why they put it here, but you see this thing that says automatically save recovery information every. You need to make sure that that's enabled, and you can set it at every 10 minutes. Some people will set it at every 5 minutes. What this does is it will, if your computer crashes, if your battery fails and all of a sudden it goes down, whatever, this will actually save the most recent copy in whatever time you set. So within the last 10 minute frame, whatever, I've got a file that when I get a new battery in or I plug my computer back in and get power back to it, I will have a file that will have the same file name that I had with, in parentheses next to it, recovered. It is a recovery file, and at least you haven't lost everything, right? There's no real overhead on this. You should definitely have that guy checked. There's also all of this. If you've worked in Photoshop forever and you like the old save as dialog box, whatever, you can enable it here. I don't mess with any of that stuff right here at all. Here you can also set up some of the things that you do in Camera Raw. Most of this has been rendered moot now. So it used to be that in Camera Raw, in here, here. All raw files you want. Camera Raw, convert documents from 32 to 60. This is only if you're into super HDRs, it's going to matter, so I'm going to ignore all this. The rest of it that I care about for Camera Raw, we will look at Camera Raw preferences separate from all of this. So I'm going to go down to the next one. This is just the quick export thing. They now do it as a PNG, which is actually, I think, a preferred export format over JPEG, because you can do things like transparency in a PNG, which you can't do in a JPEG. So at any rate, I don't mind this setup like this. What I will tell you though is that when I use the export dialog box, I use the legacy version to create all of my JPEGs. So when I want to create something for my website, I do it as an export. I don't do it as a save as, I do it as an export, but there's a whole legacy setup part that you do not have to set up here. So for doing really quick stuff to kick out a PNG, I leave this just at its default. for performance, so this matters. If you have, how many of you guys have a computer that's got like 32 gigabytes of RAM or 64 gigabytes of RAM? So if you've got that, you can actually push up how much RAM is being allocated to Photoshop. You cannot go up to 100% because this RAM setting right here, it's everything that your computer can do, right? It's running your OS, it's running your browser if you have one open, it's running all of those things. You need headroom for that. So you cannot say, I want 100% of my memory going to Photoshop. It will crash your computer. But if you've got if you've got 64 gigabytes of memory, you give 5 gigabytes to the overhead of your OS and then assign the other 60 to, or the other 59 to Photoshop. Your Photoshop will scream. It will go so much faster. Make sense? What else was I going to say while I was here? No idea. Anyway, right next to it, this use graphics processor. It's on by default. How many of you, this is pretty advanced now, so if you haven't done this, don't worry about it. But there are times specifically when you are in places like Liquify is the biggest one that this happens to me in. You're in Liquify and all of a sudden your image will start to not only pixelate, it'll like checkerboard. All of a sudden you will get like squares of your image that are just completely missing. Now, they're not actually missing, they're not gone, but it is really hard to do work in Liquify if you're missing half of your image, right? This is the culprit right here. It's the graphics processor. So if it gets glitchy, especially if all of a sudden you see something, it's like, again, your image looks checkerboarded and there's just missing parts of it, like all the red squares are just missing, you come into here and you turn off your graphics processor. That's where the problem is. Otherwise, you want to leave this on because this is the thing that really makes Photoshop fly faster. In terms of the history states, we're going to leave this at 50. All of this, you can leave this at its default. Conceivably, you could raise this up higher, but I think there are better strategies for this that don't take up as much memory, so that's how we're going to leave that. Image processing, the next thing down here, you definitely want to change this. The thing at the very top, select subject and remove background. So you can do this either in the cloud or locally. If you do it locally, it's relying on the software, Photoshop software itself, everything that's built into the software to do it. If you do it in the cloud, it actually sends a copy of your image up to Adobe servers where they actually then run that their stuff on it to try to separate your background or isolate your subject or do that kind of stuff. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't change it. This is just the default setting. So when you do the remove background, there's an option that allows you to say, oh, I'd rather do that locally. There are times, ironically, where local works actually better than the cloud thing. But traditionally, the cloud will do a better job of it, so this is where you set that as the default, is the first go-to. The rest of it you can leave at its default. Scratch disks, who knows what a scratch disk is? I'm sorry, did you have a question?
Yeah, it's actually about like disks, like disk space. So like, is that having to do with scratch disks? So
Oh, totally.
when I'm like working on Photoshop, it always says like your scratch disk is full.
Yes, that's why nobody knows what this thing is, but it's the thing that bites everybody in the ass. Your scratch disk is full and you cannot save your file.
Yes.
You can't undo it. You're stuck.
Yeah.
You basically just have to quit Photoshop and anything that you didn't get saved gets lost, right? So I'm going to pause this video right now because I need to go to the whiteboard. And we're getting through this, guys. I'm going to give you another break, so I'm not that much of a lecture Nazi. But anyway, I'm going to be all the way back there, and you're never going to hear me yelling this loud. So I'm going to pause this for just one. So if we take a look at our scratch disk setup, I've actually got 3 hard drives. It's really just a single hard drive, but it's partitioned out. You can see there are different partitions here. Actually, I'll plug in another hard drive and show you. This is an external hard drive. And I probably have to restart my preferences because I think you got to restart it for it to show up here. So let me let it mount first. It's this 1 TB. Oh, actually, this will not work because this is formatted for Windows. So I'll walk you through this one. So in this one, you'll see the amount of free space that I've got. And you can see it's 252 gigabytes. That's the free space that I've actually got on my internal hard drive for a scratch disk. In most cases, 60 gigabytes is enough for a decent sized scratch disk. You're going to be hard pressed to work in there. If you're working in 16-bit files the whole time, you maybe want to push that up to 90. But the problem that you've got is that this is free space that you are trying to keep on your internal hard drive. And none of you keeps any free space on your internal hard drive. None of you. No, I know you don't. All right, so here, this is the bad part. This is the bad part. This is the one I'm going to throw to you here. So, rule of thumb, you need a minimum of 10% free space on your hard drive just to run your system. Not forget Photoshop, just to run your system cleanly. Then you need an additional 60 gigabytes on top of that for your scratch disk. So in my case, if I come up to, I'm going to go back to my Finder. I'm going to hide everybody else. I'm going to select my hard drive and do Command I. You can look at storage. There's a million places that you can look for storage. You can do it under. This is just a fast way for me to do it. My capacity on this hard drive, it's a 1 terabyte hard drive. It says 994. So it's basically a terabyte. That means I need 1/10 free space just to run a clean system. That is 100 gigabytes. And then I need another 60 for my scratch disk. That means for a terabyte hard drive, I need 160 gigabytes of free space. You guys take a look at what you've got on yours. And I'm telling you right now, none of you even has the 10%, much less the space for a scratch disk. You have got to get that shit off of your internal hard drive. Get an external hard drive and get all the movies off, get all the pictures off, get all the email shit that you're saving for some reason, get the videos off because they're the real killers. Yes.
Where do I find this?
So there's a number of places that you can do it. You can, if you don't see your hard disk right here, because they hide them now. If you want to see all of your hard disk and what is connected, come up to your Finder, come down to Settings, and you want to check all of these. It'll just show you, I'm sorry, go into General. That's where you want to see it. And you want to see your hard disks. You want to see your external disks. You want to see CDs and all. You want to see all that on your screen. If you check all of those, then you will see your Macintosh HD. Select it, don't double click on it, just select it to make it active and hit Command I. It will bring up your info dialog. And right in there you will see format, you'll see capacity and availability. So I know that I need 160 gigabytes. I have 360 on mine, so I am fine. Yes?
683 free gigabytes.
I'm sorry, what?
683 free gigabytes.
Oh, nice.
I told you.
Yes. Very nice. But you'll never have a scratch disk issue. And I got to be honest with you, if you've spent 10 hours working on a file and you haven't been saving it the whole time and all of a sudden you hit that, you lose all 10 hours, you just want to crawl inside a bottle and drink yourself out. That is the voice, that is just your whole expression. It just screams experience. Yes, I know what this is like. I've been there. So anyway, all right, we got to get through this, guys, and we'll take a quick break, and then we'll come back and work on a custom workspace. So, sorry, almost done. So anyway, if your other option in doing this, and the thing is that you have to set this up before you do it, you could plug in an external hard drive, and then when you start Photoshop up, you would come here, and I'm just going to pretend with one of my other ones in here. You can say, oh, I want to then make this my scratch disk. So you enable this one that I'm calling toss volume. You can then click on it and set its priority. So I can move it up to the top. So what'll happen now is that I now have the capacity for 2 scratch disks. The first one, when it gets full, it will get essentially locked up. but then it'll go to the second one and it will continue to do this whole scratch disking exchange with that second one. The trick to this though is that you cannot do this once you've started. So if you're going to do this, you set up your external hard drive, you come in, you enable it, you bring it up to the top so that it protects your internal hard drive so you don't have to worry about that part. But then you have to restart Photoshop for it to take effect. If you just start to work right now, none of this will be in effect. So that's what happens. Okay, questions about any of this? Yes?
So how do we add an external hard drive to that scratch disk?
Simply you plug it in, and right now, again, I plugged in this external hard drive, but this is formatted as a Windows hard drive, which a Mac can read, but it will not show up as a scratch disk on for this guy right here. If I had one, does anybody have a hard drive that's set up for just a regular Macintosh?
Yeah.
An external one?
Oh, but it's still downloading.
Anyway, of course it is, right? Yeah. But anyway, you will see it in here. Yeah. Okay. Almost there. Cursors. This is critical to us. So for cursors, you want to make sure that you do the normal brush tip. The full brush tip, the problem with when people use the full brush tip is that if you have a soft brush, it's starting, it's really, it's putting down a whole lot of ink in the middle, but then it fades as you sort of get out to the edge. If you use this full brush tip setting, the circle that you get indicating where your brush is touches the very edge of that transparency. And when you use the brush, it doesn't look a thing like what you're actually getting. It's not your result. So you want to use the normal brush tip. It's much more indicative of where you're really painting and what you're really doing. So you definitely want to use that. You also want a crosshair at the tip of your brush. A lot of the work that we do in this class, especially in really specific cloning work, is you are going from a single point to a single point, and you want that to register. The little crosshair in the middle of the brush will actually give you a crosshair where you can actually pinpoint almost to the pixel level. So you definitely want that. Over here in other cursors, you want to select precise, not standard. Nobody uses the paint bucket tool. Nobody uses the clone stamp that looks like a little stamp. Everybody uses brushes for this work, and so that's what this will do. And so those are the settings that we would have here. For your transparency and gamut, we're almost done. The gamut warning color is by default a middle gray, which is of no use at all, especially if you are working in a black and white photo. But nonetheless, what a gamut warning is that, you guys probably know this by now, your screen can show you really intense saturated colors that you will never get printed on a printer. That is considered out of gamut. The difference between what your screen can show you and what the printer can print is a gamut mismatch, and you can use Photoshop to show you what that mismatch is, and it's this gamut warning. So when you put on the gamut warning, the areas that you can see on your monitor but the printer can't print turn to this fluorescent color if you set it correctly, which is what you're going to do now. Just double click on this patch. You'll open up the color picker. You want to then type in the color that you want to type in. I'm going to go in RGB values right here. So this is my color picker. I've got HSB values at the top, RGB values underneath it, LAB values to one side, and then CMYK over here. We are going to primarily do our entry work using RGB. So if you select the RGB value, it doesn't matter what it is, just select it, type in 0. If you hit your tab key right now, it will take you down to the green. Put in 255 for green. Hit the tab key again, and it'll go down to blue, and put in 0 for your blue and say okay. It will make this neon green your color. This is a gamut warning. You'll actually then really be able to see what's in gamut and what's out of gamut. We are going to blow through rulers and units. I should just tell you about this though really quickly. This uses a 72 dot screen resolution that goes back to CR2s from the 1980s. All of you have screen resolutions that are way more than this. The only time this matters is that if you when you're actually got a file and you're zooming in on Photoshop and you get a little zoom thing down at the bottom, it says 100% or 50% or all that kind of stuff. If for some reason you felt like you needed a 1 inch of your picture to actually be 1 inch on your screen, come find me and I will show you how to make all these adjustments in here so that that actually happens. Other than that, nobody uses it. You don't need to change anything about grids. Plugins we don't use. You don't need to change anything about those. These enhanced controls, again, some of this you can say yes. This is also where they hide. This technology previews is also where they do beta stuff. I'm going to leave this at its default, and then the tech previews, yeah, in this, I would leave the enable preserve details in the 2.0 upscale. However, they have now added generative upscale to this that is pretty much better than this, but I would go ahead and leave that part anyway. I don't care about the content-aware tracing tool, the precise color management for HDR display. How many of you guys have a $6,000 Macintosh Apple display? I didn't think so.
This is OLED though.
Say what?
This is OLED though.
Yeah. You can leave that part off. Open JPEG without background, who cares? And enable modern user interface. What the fuck does that mean? Yes, I want a modern interface. I want, like, you know, Knoll furniture on my interface. Okay, you can go ahead and say okay to that. And you would think you're done. You're not. But we're almost done. So don't know why they put it here, but this is where it is. For the Windows people, you're still in the same spot. I think it's just one more thing down in the edit menu. For the Macintosh people, you need to go to the edit menu now, and you need to come down to color settings. This is almost more important to open this than all of the previous, all the stuff that we've just spent the last hour setting up. How many of you have North American General Purpose 2 selected? Yep. So what that means is that your camera that can capture all this incredible color range, all of that gets thrown away the very second that you open a file into Photoshop, and it doesn't tell you that it's doing it. And then you save your file, and that information is gone. Only way to get it back is to reprocess your raw file a second time. This is the default setting from Photoshop. People have been screaming about this for years. Photoshop got in bed with Microsoft years ago to develop this. And Microsoft argued that, well, everybody who's looking at our stuff is doing it on a shitty 13-inch CTR monitor, so we don't care about really color fidelity. We don't care about any of that, so we're going to make sRGB our default. That's why sRGB is still the default for all websites, web browsers. If you are actually taking your files and processing them to go on your website or social media page, all of that should be converted to sRGB because it's the standard. But that's not the standard that we work in. We do master files in as big a color spaces that we can comfortably work with and then process them out, those little shitty things for social media. Does that make sense? So you need to change this. And the easiest way to do it, there's a set of grouping settings at the very top. Click on this drop-down menu. You want to come down to North American Prepress 2. This is actually will set your thing up the way you want it. And you'll notice four changes that actually happened in here. The first is that it's changed your RGB color space from sRGB to Adobe RGB. This is the space that I strongly suggest you work in. Now, is anybody in here working in ProPhoto RGB? Most of you don't know you are, but if you are bringing your files from Lightroom into Photoshop and you haven't set it up right, you are working in ProPhoto RGB. The problem with ProPhoto RGB is, though, it is a gigantic space. Gigantic. You cannot work in 8-bit. You need to be in 16-bit if you're going to go the ProPhoto route, which doubles your file size. It also doubles your processing time on everything that you do. And again, most of you don't know that you're actually doing it. So at any rate, we'll get to that part about Lightroom later on. The other thing, look at the difference here. I'm going to go back to this North American General Prepress 2. It's like, see all these mismatch warnings right here? Profile mismatch, missing profiles, ask when pasting, all of this shit has been turned off. So when you bring in a file and there's a mismatch in your color and you actually try to composite two things together and one's in one color space and another is in another color space, you get no warning that that's actually happening, much less how you make a decision about how to handle it. It just does it. So again, change this to, North American Prepress 2. So how close could they get? North American Prepress 2 or North American General Purpose 2? Could they make this any closer to make it so confusing that you will never, ever, ever really remember which one you're supposed to be doing? Yeah, drives me nuts. So at any rate, that's what you want to have set up here. I'm going to go ahead and say OK for that. One last thing we need to change. Again, back up to the Edit menu, down to Toolbar. And the toolbar will actually open up. And in the toolbar, this is what controls how the layout of your tools on the left-hand side actually are. If you have something that's missing, like all of a sudden you go for the magic wand and it's not there, there's a good chance that the magic wand somehow has been brought over to the extra tools and it's no longer where it should actually have been. You can move all of your toolbars around. If you don't ever use the artboard tool, you can get rid of it. You can put the move tool down with the crop tool if you want it. You can rearrange all of these things. That's entirely up to you. After you've completely screwed this thing up and you really can't stand it any longer, you can always click on Restore Defaults and it will go back to the way it was supposed to be. And then finally, in the keyboard shortcuts, I think it's in here. Yes, in the keyboard shortcuts. Now this is just another personal preference of mine. How many of you, when you want to undo something in Photoshop, you hit Command-Z, right? What happens if you want to do the next undo? Do you just hit Command-Z again? So that's the new way that Photoshop actually does it, and they've been doing it now for the last 2 or 3 years. But if you spent the first 25 years like I did, you actually, to go back in time, if you hit Command-Z once, it undoes it. If you hit Command-Z a second time, it redoes what you just undid. So let's say I type in the letter T, and I want to undo it. I hit Command-Z, it gets rid of the T. If I hit Command-Z again, it brings the T back. And it just goes back and forth and back and forth. If I want to go progressively back, I actually have to add the Option key. I do Command-Option-Z. If you like the way your behavior works right now, that's fine, leave it that way. If you don't, if you're old school like me and you want to actually have it be Command-Option-Z to go back because your fingers are just used to doing that, this is where you actually change it and you put in this Use Legacy undo shortcuts on there. And you are ready to rock. So the final thing that I will show you, and then we will take a break. If you go back to our website, into our resources 1. So again, I'm going to go to our session 1, the resources. Under this Photoshop preference locations, you can open this up, and this is where everything is actually stored. So you can see in my case for the general, and they do this top one is for Macintosh, and then if you go all the way down, you'll have the Windows version down at this is the version for Windows down here. What you are looking for is this folder right here, the general settings. It contains all the settings in the preference dialog box. You will find the file name. It will have a version, the Photoshop version that you're working with. I'm in 2025, but Lord knows how many of these I'll probably have. This is where you'll ultimately find it in a Macintosh. It's harder to find it in Macintosh than it is on Windows. But in the Macintosh, you want to go to your username, so that's basically just your home folder. You want to go to your home library, which is hidden by default. So to get to this, I'm going to slide this just to the side so that I can see the whole thing. You go out to your Finder, Remember the Go menu that we had before? If you click on your Go menu, you do not see your library. There are library folders, but they are system libraries. They're not your library, your home one. To get to your library, depending on the computer that you have, you hold down either the Shift key, in that case it's not mine, or the Option key, and in that case it is. You'll notice that library just showed up right here. So without the Option key, with it. You click on the library. This is hidden from you. Users can't get to this unless they know the trick that I just showed you. However, you don't want to have to remember that trick. So if you come up to the word right next to the word library and you hover over it, you will see that you get a little folder. If you grab that folder and drag it over into your favorites and let go, you will then forevermore have your library that has been hidden from you. You'll have access to it, and this is where it is. And then you come back and you look at where it says it's supposed to be. So it is user folder, in the library folder, in preferences. So I'm going to go all the way down to preferences, not preference pane, but preferences. And then I'm going to make this a little wider. You are looking for your version of Photoshop. So mine is 2025 settings. You take this folder and you copy this folder to your hard drive, to your desktop, to someplace safe. And then if you have to reset your preferences like I showed you in the very beginning and it returns everything to its default, you come find this folder that you tucked away and you bring it into this spot right here and all of your preference work will be restored. Questions? Yes?
You said it could be saved to the desktop or external hard drive?
So here's the thing. When you go to move it, it's going to want to remove it from here, which you don't want that to happen. So I'll show you what you do. So I'm just going to make a new folder. I'm going to put it in my TOS folder. So this is my TOS folder right here. Or here, I'll put it in my downloads folder, right? You grab this entire folder. You drag it. Sorry. Downloads folder. You drag the whole thing here. Before you let go, you hold down the Option key and you will get, and you should get a little plus. And I didn't, so let's try that again. Yep, see that little plus? That means it's going to copy it. And so now there's a copy of it here, but I didn't remove it. If you just do the move, it removes it out of your preference folder and you've lost all the preferences for Photoshop. But this way, and the advantage of this is that you can actually then put this into anybody else's machine and you'll have all your preferences. You don't have to go through this madness. Yes?
Where did you find the Adobe Photoshop folder?
So again, that's where I was saying this preference path right here. So again, that file that is in our resources, so I'll show you again really quickly and then we'll take a break, guys. So in our session 1 resources, there is a PDF that says Photoshop preference locations. Click on that, it'll open up. All the Macintosh ones are at the very top, all the Windows ones are down. It's this, you wanted the whole general folder, you want everything. And it's right here. So you have to go to your user, which is your home name. Usually, in my case, it's Verser. To the library, I just showed you how to get to your home library. In the preference folder, and then there's one that will say Adobe, and it, again, whatever version. Because if you take a look at mine, I'll go back there really quick. If you take a look at mine, I've got settings for, I've got beta settings as well. I've got a set for my beta. If I don't go in and clean this stuff up, I'll have settings for 2024, for 2023, for 2022. You want to copy the settings for the version of Photoshop you're using. If you're using the latest one right now, it's 2025. And that's what you would copy and tuck away.
Copy to just the folder.
Just put it someplace so that if this all goes to hell, you can copy the virgin version back into that space and then you don't have to do all that work.
Okay.
That's why. It's just a protection. Yes.
How do I find the home library?
So the home is just you. So if we look down here, so in yours, let's go up to, go back to your Finder really quick. Up to Finder, down to settings. Good, and all of that showing, click on sidebar. And you want your, that is your home folder. Click on that, and then you can close this up. And now it'll be here. That is your home folder. Okay, I've got 3:37. Let's make it another hard 10, guys. Be back at 3:47, and we got a lot to get through. Any questions about any of this so far? I know you're thinking to yourself, fuck me, I didn't sign up for this. Trust me, it'll change everything for you. Or at least that's the idea. Okay. So if you will go to your assignment folder, the full assignment folder, I'm going to find my version of it so it looks like what you're looking for. So the retouching assignment folders, there is one for the first 14 weeks. The 15th week is final critique, so there's really no folder for that. If you click on the student files for week number 1, what you will see in here is there is a PDF that has your assignments as well. This mirrors exactly what you'll see on our website. Again, you're setting up your system. You are reading some stuff on color. You're doing a couple of things like that, but there's nothing you're going to be turning in. That's why there's no assignment folder necessarily in here. If you go to week number 2, you will see in week number 2, there's a bunch of working files, but there's also an assignment folder file. This has the same assignment in it, it's the full list of your assignments, but these are also the files that you are going to be using for those assignments. So just to give you a kind of a quick rundown. But if you go back to week number 1, there is a file in there called redcar.psd. I need you to open that in Photoshop. And it should look like this. It's a red Corvette. So does anybody not have this thing open? Is everybody able to find it and get it open? Okay, I'm gonna set my timer for 2 minutes. I'm going to set this for 2 minutes, and when I hit the word go, I want you to turn that car green. Go. Yeah.
I just ejected the hard drive.
You what?
I ejected the whatever you're working on.
Oh. Well, it'll be a little bit behind then, so don't worry. We'll figure it out. Don't worry, you're not turning this in. You're not going to be graded on it.
I don't know where it went.
Okay, well, so was it open in Photoshop at all? Ever?
Yeah, no.
Oh, okay, that's fine. So if you don't know where it went, here, plug this in, because that's got all of it in it. So if it doesn't show your workspace, a lot of times it'll have to do with hitting the tab key or the shift key or Okay, how did we do? Can I go around and take a look? Great, great. It's even redder. Yeah. So wait a second. Did anybody get it green? Saturation?
There's something in there.
Yeah, is that right? Is that how you do it? How'd you do that? Yeah, saturation, same thing. Until you guys are a power team. Yep, how'd you do it? Yeah, use saturation. Yeah, so come up to Windows. Everybody keeps saying something. Come down to Workspace, and then you're going to reset Essentials. Is that what you're used to? Yeah. Okay.
Now I'm done. Channel swap.
Say what?
Now I'm done channel swap.
Oh, okay. Channel swap?
Yep.
Oh, wait, I got to see this one.
You didn't say anything about what the color background is. Change everything but I channel swap it. I can do it more refined and longer.
So when you say channel swap, what do you actually do?
I swapped it everything.
Similar to that. Oh, you do a channel mix?
Well, because I do it with that's what I do when I do infrared in order to swap, recreate the infrared color.
I need to learn shit from you. Okay, all right, so, well, that was mixed. So I need somebody to whip out a timer because I want you to time me doing the same thing and just tell me, we'll just see sort of how long it takes. Have you got a timer ready? Okay, just tell me when to go.
Yeah.
Stop. How long? 10
10 seconds.
seconds?
16.
Oh, 16. So the reason I do this is to demonstrate to you how important understanding color theory really is. So there's still a couple things that are wrong with this, a couple of refinements that I would make. You can see it actually did the same thing. It inverted the red brick on the background, but if I mask the car out, I'm done with this in less than a minute. Right? Somebody says to me, well, yeah, I need you to actually give me this car in 15 different colors. And I say to them, well, it'll take me a half hour a color. So give me 7.5 hours at $150 an hour, a couple thousand up, whatever. And I do the whole thing in 5 minutes. What's it all about, folks? The money. Okay, so the reason I show everybody this is that we're going to do a quick little tour down the color theory road. And then I'm going to show you guys what I just did once you sort of have some idea of how the whole process worked. But the color theory part of this is critical because so much of what happens in Photoshop, I'm not just talking about color grading, I'm not just talking about correcting color, I'm not just talking about that. We are talking about changing pixels, what a pixel actually looks like. That is the essence of what goes on in Photoshop. Whether you're compositing stuff, whether you're converting stuff to black and white, no matter what it is you're doing, it's strictly changing the pixels. And the color part of this is absolutely critical. So I say this, I'm going to try to make this as quick as I possibly can, because again, this is just more dry shit that nobody wants to do, but I'm begging you to pay attention to this part. It's really incredibly important. And if you can understand this, if you can master this, what the gifts that will give you, the things that it'll allow you to do, cannot be understated. Okay, so we are going to start with the old color wheel. How many of you guys made one of these when you were in 7th grade art? I mean, we all did, right? So you basically know what's going on. However, this is really a more official one. And so what I want you to look about here is, and you're going to see stuff coming up here on the side that is going to say exactly what I'm telling you right now, but it's just easier for me to stand up here in the limelight. That's a joke. Okay, so color wheel. There's 360 degrees in a circle. We all know that, right? right? If I'm going to turn my back to you, I just did a 180, right? Just bear with me on that one. By definition, in an official color wheel, red always starts at 0, and it's always usually located here at 3 o'clock. So the way they set up the color wheel was that they took the 3 primaries. Now we were talking about additive primaries. We're not going to get into additive and subtractive, but the 3 additive primaries that we are commonly work with in Photoshop, red, green, and blue, right? RGB. Everybody's good on that part, right? Feels good about that part? So those are the primaries. What they did was they put them as far apart from one another as they possibly could on the color wheel, but still having equal space. So 360 degrees divided by 3 is 120 degrees. So if you go from red to green, it's a 120-degree movement. If you go from green to blue, another 120, and then back to red. Red, by the way, is actually not only 0 degrees, it's also 360 degrees. But that was what happened. That was how they laid it out. Then, if you actually mix 2 primaries, if you mix red and green, right in the middle, you get yellow. Again, this is light. This is not pigment. The confusion that so many people, if you guys actually painted the color wheel when you were in the 7th grade, that kind of stuff, you were actually doing that in CMY. You were not doing that in RGB. Even though they call that color red, it was magenta. Sorry. Yellow is the only one that they didn't lie about. Blue is not blue. It's cyan. Anyway, but in light, red, green, and blue. So if I mix red and green, I get yellow. If I mix green and blue together, I get cyan. If I mix red and blue together, I get magenta. Those are the secondary colors. And they are actually opposite the primaries. Their complementary color is opposite themselves. So the complementary color of green is magenta. The complementary color of yellow is blue. The complementary color of cyan is red, and just vice versa as well. Complementary color of red is cyan. If you mix complementary colors together in equal proportions, you completely neutralize them out. So in the very center right here, we have a neutral gray. So when you guys desaturate an image, well, let's just try this. Go back into Photoshop really quickly. I'm going to escape out of here for just a second. Back to the red car or the green car, whatever it is. Go up to the image menu, down to adjustments, down to, oops, sorry. I was on an adjustment layer. Up to the image menu, down to adjustments, down to desaturate. And you get a gray image. Why? Well, what's happened is that when you desaturate a color, you mix its complementary color in an exactly equal proportion to it, and what you end up with is gray in the middle. So with the red car, it actually mixed elements of cyan, and this could be slightly off, so parts of the greens, but anyway, the exact opposite was mixed into it, and I end up with gray. But gray is also a completely desaturated color. So in the color wheel, what you have is the closer to this edge that you get, the more saturated the color is. The more closer that you get, more, did I just say more closer? The closer that you get to the center, the less saturated this color is. So in this case, I have 2 variables working for me. I have color, which goes around the wheel, so red, green, blue, all that around here, and I have saturation. So saturation is from the center out. This is the most saturated, the least saturated. Does that make sense, everyone? And that's the color wheel. Simple. Questions about this? Okay, I'll put these up for the video just so that you can see. It talks about all the same things that we just talked about here. And the one thing that is missing from this is brightness. I have no white in here. I have no black in here. That's missing in here. Okay, so what is tri-stimulus? All the colors of the spectrum can be described in terms of 3 stimuli. Your eyes, this whole system was based on your eyes. Your eyes have cells in it that are sensitive only to red light. They have cells in it that are only sensitive to green and only sensitive to blue. And when you see a pure red, then those cells that are firing, that are only red, fire, and the other two, the green and blue ones, don't fire at all. If you have mixes of color, then you'll have like the red one. Let's say it's this color orange right here, right? Well, part of this has got red in it, and part of this has got yellow in it. It doesn't have any blue in it at all. So that's kind of what's going on. So again, it's this whole idea that you can create any color from 3 different stimuli. You can plot this in 3-dimension, which is what we're going to do in just a second. So I need everybody to jump into Photoshop along with me. And I want you to click on this, one of these 2 patches. So this is the foreground and the background color right here. The one that's to the left and on the top is considered the foreground color. The one that's underneath it is the background color. It doesn't matter which one you click on. It'll actually open up what we call the color picker. And this is the color picker right here. And you can actually see in the color picker, it's divided into 4 different sections. There is an RGB version that's sitting right down here at the bottom. There's an HSB version, which stands for hue, saturation, brightness. There is an LAB version. We'll talk about what that is in just a minute. And then there is a CMYK version as well in all of this. We're going to start with the RGB version of it. And again, I want you to simply click on the R radio button, and you will notice that this column actually becomes the red value. So I'm going to say click on the the R value, type in 255, hit the tab key to go to green and hit 0, and the blue key and hit 0 again. This column is now, the column that's on this side right here, is now the entire range of red. So you can see we've got a red of 255 right now. That's the maximum amount of red. And you can see the 2 little arrows that are up at the top. If you grab those 2 little arrows that are at the top, you can actually click on them and you can drag them down. And as you drag them down, you'll notice that the only thing that is changing is this R value. And I'm down in the middle part right now. I'm at an R of 121. And you can see the new color that is actually showing. This color right here, by definition, is a red of 121 and a green of 0 and a blue of 0. That's what that color is. If you continue to drag it all the way down, it looks black. However, for Photoshop's purposes, this is not a normal black. This is a red black. The color is still, the hue is still red. It just has no brightness, so it appears to be black. But mathematically, Photoshop will treat that different than a green black or a blue black. Does this make sense? So what we've got here is, and I'm going to leave this all the way down, click on the green little radio button right now, and you can see the column becomes the green value. And if we start at the bottom, at our green black, and we drag it all the way up to the very top, we get a pure green at the very top. And if we drag it all the way back down again, we can do the very same with the blue. We're going to take the blue and we're going to drag it all the way up, and you can see we have a pure blue. Now, if we mix colors, so for instance, if you click on the green, go ahead and leave your blue all the way up at 255, click on the green and actually radio button and drag it all the way up. Now what we have done is we have mixed colors. We have mixed our blue and our yellow to actually get cyan. And then if you want to, you can actually go to the red column. And in the red column, we can click and drag that all the way up. And now you have got all 3 of your colors at their maximum intensity. This is a 255 red, 255 green, 255 blue. By definition, that is white. 000 is black. 255, 255, 255 is white. If you put in 128 for all of these values, so grab the red one, type in 128, tab key 128, tab key 128, that is a medium gray. One of the most important things about this whole system is that if you have equal amounts of RGB, this is the one thing to write down right now out of this whole process, equal amounts of RGB will always equal a neutral gray. If you do it at its minimum intensity, you have black. At its maximum intensity, you have white. But you have to realize white is a gray. Does this make sense, everybody, what's going on? So this 0 to 255 scale is critical to us. It's actually 256 tones because 0 is a tone. Are we good on this part? All right. The one thing I tell people this all the time, though, is that with these radio buttons, if you can't remember what something is, come over and click on one of the radio buttons. The column becomes whatever that radio button is. Okay. Go back here. Yep. Okay, so those red, green, and blue values can be plotted into a three-dimensional space. So if you take a look at this, what you've got here, so this is kind of a cube, it's an illustration of a cube, and we're looking at the closest front corner, the top corner right here, right? But imagine there's another corner just the opposite of this, down on the floor in the corner in the back, right? That's where black is. And so if you do a line along the floor all the way out here from 0 to 255 right here, this is where pure red is. And if you go all the way back there to the black corner again, 0, 0, 0, and you come out just along the floor here to 255, this is where green is. And then if you go all the way back again and you go straight up to 255, that's where the blue corner is. And this box now contains all the colors that we can actually deal with, all the colors that are available to us. They are all contained in this. The opposite corner way down there that you can't see is black, but this one up here is white because everything is hit 255. I've come all the way out on the red, so this spot right here is 255 red. I've come all the way up, so it's 255 green, and I've come all the way out this way, so it's 255 green. We just said that 255 red, 255 blue, 255 green is white. So where's middle gray in this?
In the middle.
It's in exactly the middle of the cube. In that space, in the very middle of that cube, all the complementary colors have canceled one another out, and that space is totally neutral. Does this make sense? This matters to us because now we need to talk about and think about color. To describe it is a space. You cannot describe the color wheel. The problem we had with the color wheel is it's two-dimensional. I cannot get all the colors. I can get the I can get the RGB ones. I can get this illustration of it, but I'm missing completely. I'm missing brightness. I don't have any darks. I don't have any lights. I don't have any of that. You need a third dimension for that. Color is three-dimensional. So if we take a look at this, and this is that same cube, but what I've done now is I've done a cutaway in this. And so you can actually type this color. If you open up your color picker right now in Photoshop, select the R channel and type in 51, hit the tab key in the green, put in 153, hit the tab key and put in 204, you will get this color. This color exists in this space, and you can see why. So for again, in this case, we've got blue coming out in this direction. This is almost all the way out at the edge of this, which would be pure blue. It has got very little, if any, red in it. So you can see red is running along this axis right here. Well, it's really close to this edge right here. There's very little red in this. And then it's got about half green in it. So this is a combination, again, of blue and green, which is giving me this sort of like cyanic color. But the importance about this is that color now is defined by location in a space. So I'm not looking at you and saying, oh yeah, could you give me that kind of turquoisey teal color? What the fuck is that? Nobody knows what that is, right? But if I say to you, give me 0, give me 51, 153, 204, whatever, your color, my color is exactly the same. Make sense? So we no longer have ambiguous color. That was one of the really magnanimous things that Photoshop actually did, that Adobe actually did, was to really get a handle on color and being able to communicate color. So There's a unique point for every single color. Color is defined by location. However, and this is a big one, they do not have to be primaries. Remember, our primaries are RGB, our secondaries are CMY. Those also would be primaries in a subtractive system. Don't let that confuse you. HSB are not primaries, but they can describe color space. So I'm going to zip out for just 1 second. For the Macintosh people, you can do this. The Windows people, you can't. I apologize, but it's just a program that they don't have in Windows. For all the Mac people, I need you to go to your application folder really quickly. Please do this with me, because once I show you this, you're going to go home and you're going to get all fucked up and you're going to just spend the rest of the night listening to Pink Floyd doing this. Does that show how old I am? Come on, the Pink Floyd reference. The getting fucked up reference is even becoming more obscure. You guys are straighter than I would ever. I say that with envy. I did not grow up in that generation. So you remember I told you about that I would tell you things, the whole transparent, that whole transparent thing. So as a perfect example, one of my classes said, well, what was the stupidest thing you ever did? In like relationship to your career, right? The stupidest thing I did. So I, right out of art school, I got hired to work at Playboy magazine, and they used to send me around to, I would go, one of the things that I would do would be to look for potential playmates. And that kind of, so they would send me all over the country doing that. Anyway, I was somewhere in the South, I don't remember where I was, and I got a phone call, and they said there's a girl who's in, I think it was Tampa, it was somewhere in Florida. We think could be a real strong candidate for Playmate. We need you to go shoot a test of her. And I was like, okay. So what a test basically meant is that you would go, you would spend the day shooting pictures. And in the end, I mean, if you guys don't know Playboy magazine, Playboy used to have the Playmates, there was a big centerfold picture that happened in the middle part of it that would fold out. And when you would shoot these tests, you were always looking for the pose that would be that shot. But they also, it was to show, so they get a really good idea of the girl, how she posed, how she looked, all that kind of stuff. So anyway, we go there. Turns out her boyfriend is a huge cocaine dealer. And so we end up shooting all of these test pictures, whatever. It's all going fine. I don't think she's going to make it, but it doesn't matter to me. I'm still getting paid, right? And the boyfriend says, well, we should go celebrate tonight. And I was like, sure. And he goes, I'm going to invite a few friends over. We should go out for dinner. And I was like, that sounds great. So we go out to dinner to this restaurant, and we show up at this restaurant, and there's a table. I swear to God, the table went from here, kind of like this whole length right here. So from here to the back row, and that was the table size, right? And there had to be 20 chairs at this table, something like that. And the boyfriend proceeds to take plates, silver plates, full of cocaine, and set them out along the table, like one every 4 people. And it's this restaurant, there's people everywhere. For all I know, that's the sheriff right there, but so I am doing cocaine all night long with 20 strangers in a restaurant in front of all these people that could be the police. Stupidest thing I ever did. Well, one of them. And I have no idea how I got off on that track, but where was I? Yeah. All right, back to this. I tell you that because of my, that's, now I remember. Okay, so Macintosh people, application folder, all the way down to the utilities folder. Inside the utilities folder is an application called Color Sync Utility. Double click on it to launch it. When you launch it and actually opens up, you want to make sure that you have, you want to make sure that there's some tabs along the top. Make sure you have the profile tab selected. And then on the left-hand side, there's a series of where profiles will actually be located. If you click open the system profile, it'll drop down. You should have an RGB profile in there. And if you click on that, this is a version of what the color space of RGB looks like. And if you click on this, you can actually move this around. I know. And if you double click up near the top, it'll get as big as it can get. But what this is a color space. It's a three-dimensional color space. You can see that there's a white X at the top. That is the point at which all RGB values equal or maxed out, and you get white. The opposite side is the black point where they're all 0, 0, 0. But you'll also see this is the color space for Adobe RGB. This gets better. If you come up to the little triangle in the top left-hand corner and you click it right where it says Lab Plot, click on this and come down and say hold for comparison. This will actually give you a version, a ghosted out version of what that space looks like. But now you can actually select a second profile to compare it. So now pick the sRGB profile that's at the bottom of that list. And now you can compare the two and you can see how much smaller sRGB is than Adobe RGB is. Why on earth would Adobe set this up to lose all of this color? All of this color that you see ghosted out was lost because your profile, because your color settings were set to the default that Adobe shipped with. Shame on them. But at any rate, color is three-dimensional. The spaces are. That's what we're always going to be talking about here. Okay. We're getting through it, guys, I swear. Okay, so even though you can see this and hopefully have already read it. Hue, what is hue? We talk about it all the time. Hue is the property of a pure color that distinguishes it from other ones. So it's the difference between red and yellow. It's that simple. You don't need to go any further than that. If you take a look at these 7 patches along the bottom, they all have the exact same saturation. They all have the exact same brightness. The only thing that is different is their hue. What is saturation? Anyone? Intensity. Other people will call it purity. Basically, the best way of thinking about it is, and the way I think about it, it is the absence of a complementary color. It is the purity of the color, right? So in this case, if you take one extreme, you have a pure color. So here, this is the color. There's no complement in it at all. But here, by the time we get down to the gray, whatever the complement of that color is, that's all the way over here on the color wheel, got mixed in equal proportion, and you end up with a neutral gray. And that has 0 saturation. It's controlled by adding and subtracting. Typically in hue, I should go back for that really quickly. Sorry, hang on one second. Hue is defined by degree. Remember I said red was always at 0 degrees, green is at 120, cyan's at 180. You'll see that actually in Photoshop. So that's how hue is defined. Saturation is actually defined in a 0 to 100%. If you have 0% saturation, it is a completely neutral gray. 100% saturated is as pure as the color can get. So if we look back at the color wheel again, that's exactly what was happening. Remember, saturation is the distance out. These are the most saturated parts are on the edges. So the distance out is saturation. This is measured. This would be 0% saturation. This would be 100%. A degree is what determines hue. So again, red is at 0 degrees. Blue is at 240. So if we then take a look, this is two-dimensional. Remember, we're missing something here. If we take a look at your color picker, so everybody back really quick to the color picker, we're actually going to reset something. I'm going to actually say, let's go back to our pure red. So type in 255 for the red, tab key 0 green, tab key 0 blue. And what you'll see now up in your HSB settings is that the hue is 0 degrees by definition. The saturation is 100%, and the brightness is also 100%. If you change the hue to 180, which is the exact complement opposite of red, we end up with cyan. This is exactly the system that I just showed you guys, right? So this part matters, and you're going to see why in just a second, hopefully. Okay, so The issue, though, that we have with this is, again, this is two-dimensional. This is not a three-dimensional thing. We are missing brightness. So the way that they deal, so first off, we need to talk about what brightness is. It's the hardest one for everybody to think about. But brightness is the property by which the color appears to contain more or less light. We can go from our maximum brightness, which would be the pure red, all the way to a black red. That's what that 0 to 255 is about. 0 is going to be the black red, 255 would be the pure red. So anyway, brightness is also defined on a scale of 0 to 100%. Every single color that there is will appear black if its brightness is set to 0. Okay, this is how they fix it. They take the color wheel and they flop it so it's horizontal. And then they add the third dimension, and the third dimension is brightness. So as you imagine, this is our color wheel that's now flat. Again, hue is determined by the degrees around this, saturation by the distance from the center all the way out to the edges. But now brightness is determined by going up. If you imagine this is two cones that are sitting on top of one another, or sitting opposite of one another. As you move all the way up to the, let's call this a globe, the North Pole, you get to white. If you go all the way down to the South Pole, whatever, you actually get black. Does that make sense to everyone? Okay. So this is now a three-dimensional color space, and it looks somewhat like the ones that we just looked at in the color sync utility. Those shapes are very different because they're mathematical shapes. This is actually just an illustration. So this is exactly what I talked about. Yeah, blah, 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 blah. So why isn't this thing just a column? Why is it a cone shape? Why is this a cone shape? As you get lighter, you lose saturation. As you get darker, you lose saturation. Remember, saturation is this edge out here. This is where the most saturated color is. As I start to get lighter and lighter and lighter, I lose saturation. As I start to get darker and darker and darker, I lose saturation. And that's why this thing gets shaped like this. Are we good? This is a very famous guy called Munsell who actually created what we deal with, the whole color system that we deal with. This is his color model. There's a cutaway in the middle. This part that's missing in the middle is just a cutaway so that you can see what's going on. But you can see that I've got all my neutral colors are sitting in the middle, whites at the top, blacks at the bottom, and then my color, my most saturated colors are at the very edge right here. Why isn't this a perfect circle? Different colors saturate more or less than other colors. You can get a far more saturated red than you can get a saturated cyan. So these spaces are not like a perfect globe. It's not how this thing works. LAB. So this is based on the model that I just showed you. This is related to HSB. It's very much the same thing. So if you take a look at LAB, what happens in this is that you've still got the axis in the middle that goes from black into white. However, in the center, you've still got gray. But in this case, instead of having an RGB, which is 3 axes, you've only got 2. You've got one that goes from the green, red, and the other that goes from yellow, blue. However, the value of L plus this is called the A axis, which is the green to red, and then the blue axis, which is the B axis going from blue. You can still pinpoint any color in here using those 3 coordinates. L plus A plus B will give you any place in here. So for instance, in the very middle right here, this would be 0 for B and 0 for A. These end up being positive values. So if you go out in the blue, it's a positive 128. If you go to the yellow, it's I take it back. The blue is a negative 127, the yellow is a positive blue. So this area in here is 0. But if you end up with a 0, 0, so a 0 for the red, a 0 for the blue, and 50 for the lightness, you're right in the middle right there. That's right where you are. If you want the purest of red, you're right out here. So you're an R plus 128 with a brightness or an L of 50, and then a B axis of 0. So again, it allows you to plot where color is. But there is a big difference in this. So I need everybody to go back to Photoshop. It's our last trip, guys, last slide. Okay, and I want you to type in for the H value, our hue value, 180, which I have. Go down to the saturation and put in 50. And then go down to the brightness and also put in 50. And it gives you this sort of like tealish-like color. Again, that's the problem with all this. However, I want you to click on the brightness radio button, the B button. The column now becomes brightness. That's the only thing that will change. And start to drag this up and look at what happens to hue and saturation. They do not change, right? Hue still stays at 180, saturation still stays at 50. The only thing I am changing here is the brightness. It is a single variable that I can move. I'm going to return my brightness to 50 by typing it in. Now click the radio button for saturation and do the same thing. As I start to drag it up, saturation is the only value. I'm looking at the HSB only. Is the only thing that changes. As I come down, the only thing that changes. Hue remains consistent, and so does brightness. That doesn't change. Finally, I'm going to click on the hue button, and this again, the column becomes hue. And now when I actually run this up and down, the hue is changing, but look at saturation and brightness. They do not change at all. So this gives me incredibly precise control because I have separated color from luminosity. Type in 180 again for your hue. Oh. Type in 180 again for your hue and 50, 50. I'm sorry. And 50 saturation, 50 color. And now click on your red radio button. Actually, click on the green one. It's more pronounced. So I'm going to click on the green radio button, and I'm going to start running this up and down, and I want you to watch what happens to the hue, saturation, and brightness. As I start to move the green thing, I change everything. I change all of the color, and I change all of the luminosity. You cannot color correct using an RGB curve without impacting the luminosity, unless you use blending modes, and if we get into blending modes, that is theoretically true, but way ahead of where we are in this class right now. But does this make sense? So what happened with the car? Is this making sense to everybody right now? The advantage of HSB and ultimately LAB is a variant of HSB. Again, hue, saturation, brightness. In this case, we don't deal with hue and saturation, we deal with two color axes. But we separate it from luminosity, so I can change the luminosity. I can make my image darker or lighter without impacting the color, or I can change the color without impacting the darkness and the lightness, the luminosity. Those two are separate from each other. Game changer. So, how many people in here feel like, oh man, this is all news to me? Luminosity, LAB, I didn't get all of that right. You've been dealing with LAB your whole lives. This is the control panel for ACR in Photoshop. It's very similar to the one that's in Lightroom, isn't it? Looks pretty much the same, right? L is exposure. If you change the exposure of your image, you make it lighter or darker. I'm staying away from all the contrast and highlights, all that. Just exposure here is L. It doesn't impact your color at all. Look at the two color axis. A is the green-red axis. B is the blue-yellow axis. You guys have been dealing with LAB for as long as you have been in Lightroom. And the reason they do it is exactly the reason you should be. When you get into doing serious color correction, you leave RGB and you immediately go into LAB, which is what I just did for the car. So let's all do the car together. Do you still have the car open? If you don't, open it. The easiest way to get the car open again, if you don't already have it open, is up to the File menu, down to Open Recent, and the car will be right there. If you want to get back to the original car, if you don't have your history panel showing, simply close up the car, don't save it, and then back up to the File menu, Open Recent, and open the car again. So does everybody have a virgin copy of the car open? All right, if we take a look up at the very top, you will actually see that it says redcar.psd, so we know what the file type is. It's a Photoshop file. But then you'll also notice in parentheses it says RGB, and then there's a / and an 8. What that's telling you is that this is an RGB file, that's the mode that we're in, and that it is an 8-bit image. And if you take a look again, you don't have this yet, and we're probably not going to be able to set up our, we'll take a shot at setting up this workspace. We may not have it yet. But if I take a look at my channels right here, you'll see that I've got a red, green, and blue channel, and the composite RGB is sitting right here. So my first move when you're doing, and this is for doing serious color correction, is we need to convert this to LAB. And just a note, nobody calls it lab. If you say, oh yeah, I'm going to convert it to lab, people will laugh at you, and you don't want people to laugh at you, because then you get, no. Anyway. So it's no more lab than RGB is LAB. So we are going to convert this up to the image menu, down to mode, down to LAB color. And you will now notice that up in the title, it has changed that RGB from RGB to LAB. Now, you don't see any change in this. We haven't fundamentally changed any of the color at all. But now look what's going on over in my channels palette. I have a lightness channel, which is basically the luminosity. It's a black and white version of my image. I have the A channel. This is what is controlling the A, which is the red to green color in my image. Wherever it's lighter, like you can see it's lighter here in the car part right here, it's letting red in. Remember, the car is red, so that would make sense. If we then take a look at the B channel down here, you can see there is some blue in that car part as well. It's the coloring of the car, so it's not pure red. But nonetheless, this is controlling the blue-yellow part of that car. Make sense? Again, it doesn't look like anything you would believe, but nonetheless, that's what it is. So to change it, I'm going to add a curve to this. So I'll come down to, when I do curves, I know, again, a lot of you guys have curves as like a thing right here in the middle. However you put a typical curve on here, if you go up to your layers palette and you add a curve, I don't care how you do it. We are going to work this way though once we get your workspace similar to mine. I simply go to the icons that are at the very bottom of my layers palette, and you click on the one that looks like a half moon black, half moon white. It'll give you a flyout menu, and we can add a curve on top of this. And then in my properties panel, you'll see I don't have RGB anymore. I've got lightness, A, and B. And so all I'm doing is coming down to my A channel, which again, the A represents the green-red axis. And I'm simply going to invert it. I'm going to grab the top white point and drag it all the way down, and then the black point and drag it all the way up, and the car is green. But you'll notice there was no shift in tone. This still has the same luminosity structure that it originally did. That's the beauty of this. I don't pervert that part of it. You can't do this with hue saturation. You can't do this with an RGB curve. Did this work for you guys? Yeah, wait till we get into changing color of all sorts of things. Yeah. Questions about any of this? Okay. I'm feeling confident we can get this workspace built. Get rid of the car and buckle up. So we're going to build this custom workspace. It'll be the last thing that we do. Hopefully we can get this done. If we don't, you can at least save it, or we'll figure this part out. Actually, I'll finish it on the video. You can just finish doing that part. To start with, I'm going to start with what the workspace looks like for most of you. So if you have a custom workspace, I'm going to just go back to the original one that Adobe ships with. So to get to that, come up to the window palette at the very top, the window drop-down menu, come down to Workspace, and come down to Essentials, and let go. Once you do that, changing workspaces is a two-step process. You've got to reset the space that you just changed it to. So you go right back to the same place, up to the window menu, down to workspace, and down to reset essentials. This word will change depending on whatever workspace that you select. So if we had selected photography, this would say reset photography. But this is what my space looks like. Does everyone have something similar to this? Okay, first thing we're going to do is get rid of these stupid things that are on the side. So we are going to these two little icons that are on the top left-hand side. Look up at my screen. Click, the first one is History. We are going to click on it and it will fly out. I'm going to then grab the tab that says History and I'm going to tear it off. That leaves Comments behind. I'm going to grab Comments and tear it off. And then I'm going to get rid of Comments. There's a little X right above the tab that says Comments. Click on that and get rid of it. We don't need it. So the next thing I'm going to do is I am going to put my, I'm going to grab Swatches, the Swatch tab that's up at the very top right-hand side, tear it off and get rid of it. Then I'm going to do Gradients, grab it, tear it off, get rid of it. Then I'm going to do Patterns, grab the patterns, tear it off, and get rid of it. Now we are going to move properties up into this space, but I don't want to get rid of color because I need all of this to remain anchored to the entire border. So I'm going to leave color there for a second. I'm going to grab the Properties tab. Watch my screen when I do this. I'm going to grab the Properties tab. I'm going to drag it up. And when the entire frame goes blue all the way around, you will know that you are then anchoring this Properties tab with the color palette, with the color panel, and let go. Then you can grab the Color tab, tear it off, and get rid of it. Moving on, I actually need to say done, leave, get out of here. I need to do kind of the same thing. I'm going to grab Libraries tab in the middle now, click and drag it off and kill it. Then I'm going to grab the Layers tab and I need to move it up and set it in along with adjustments that are at the very top. So grab your Layers tab, drag it up on top right next to the adjustments. When the entire thing goes blue, it is correct now. Then grab Adjustments and tear it off and get rid of it. Then we're going to grab the Path tab and we are going to bring it up along with Layers. So I'm going to drag it up to the top till I get the whole blue around it and I get Layers and let go. And then finally I'm going to grab Channels and tear it off and move it over to the other side somewhat. My right side is now done. And I'm going to click Layers to keep it in front because when we save our workspace, whatever you have picked will be what shows first. And if you saved your workspace with the Path tab showing, then you'd always have to change it to Layers. It's just a simpler way of doing it. Now, if you want to see more layers and a little less properties, you can hover your cursor right between the two right now and you will get a double-headed arrow. You can click and you can actually drag this up. And that actually got rid of it, which I did not want to do. So if this happens, you've got to then grab Layers and bring it down to the very bottom of your properties and let go. And then click and drag to push the whole thing up, and then bring Paths back into it, and then select Layers. Oops. Son of a bitch. Yeah, no. And now I'm off to the races. So then on the other side, we're almost done. one of the most important things in Photoshop is your info palette, and we don't have it showing. So to get to it, you come up to the window menu, and all of the things that we got rid of, like you remember, we got rid of color. If you wanted to bring color back for some reason, oh my God, I love that palette, it's right here. Just select color and it'll bring it right back for you, and you can put it wherever you want it. In our case, no one ever uses it, or rarely uses it. So anyway, but I'm gonna go back up to the window and I'm gonna come down to Info. And the info palette is actually going to show up. I'm going to grab this, pull it away from the right-hand side, and I'm going to bring it over and dock it at the very top next to my tool tab. So you bring it all the way to the left, and it's only when you get that full blue line that it's ready to dock, and you let go, and now the info palette is now locked along with my tools. Now, I want to put history underneath my info palette, and you would think that you would do the same trick that I did with my layers on the other side, that I would come and I would bring history and I would try to goose it up underneath the bottom. That's not what happens. You see this dark line that runs right through the underneath the info palette? That's where this history goes, and then you'll get the blue line. So when you get the blue line, you let go of that guy. And then finally, I need to put channels underneath this. So you click on channels and it does go at the very bottom, and then you let go, and then you bring channels up a little higher because you don't need it. I usually do about a third. So I've got info at the top, history at the in the middle, and channels at the bottom. I need one more thing, two more things actually that I can do. The next one I was going to add is actions. How many of you guys use actions in Photoshop? That will change. I'm going to grab the actions, and you'll see actions has also got comments with it. I don't want comments, so I'm going to grab comments, tear it off, and get rid of it. I'm going to grab actions and bring it right over next to history. So again, when it gets onto the history panel and it goes blue all the way around, you can let go. And then I'm going to click on history to make it what I see in the front. We use actions, but not as much as history, so I want that to be front and center. And then I've gotten soft in my old age, and I've actually got more of an affinity for libraries now. So even though I got rid of it, I am going to bring it back. So I'm going to go up to the window menu, down to libraries, and I'm going to grab this tab and I'm going to bring it up into the properties panel and let go. And then again, click on properties so it's front and center. And this is still not doing that. This is your retouching workspace. So to save this, you come up to the window menu, down to workspace, down to new workspace, and you type in something clever like retouching, and then you hit save. I'm not going to do it because I've got 300 of these. But now, if you come up to your Windows menu down to workspace, you will see at the very top you should have a retouching workspace. If you go back to essentials and click on it, and then do a reset, again, two-step process, it looks like the original Photoshop. But if you come back to Windows and you go to Workspace and you do retouching, this is your retouching workspace. And again, I would reset this up and do a reset. Workspace, reset, and you are good to go. This gives you everything you need for retouching, visible all at one time. One last thing I can show you, because I have 2 minutes. Didn't I promise you I would not end 1 fucking minute early? Open the red car again really fast. So again, up to the file menu, open recent red car. If you then double click on the hand, the red car will get as big as it can be, but not lose anything. So you'll see that all of these, having these panels on both sides is respected. The car does not go under any of these palettes. Nothing disappears in there. So when you're working with this, I will zoom in and zoom out like that really quickly. If you double click on the magnifying glass, it'll zip back to 100%. This again will bring it all the way back up again. If you then get rid of the car, and let's say you grab the entire Photoshop frame, so the area that's right up next to the word that says Adobe Photoshop, click on that and pull down. This will move everything. All of the palettes are locked together. But now if you double click right next to that area, it will fill your screen with the maximum amount, but you will have no palette or any part of your palette hidden at all. And if you move from a laptop to a big monitor back and forth, you do that kind of stuff, this trick will make you want to cry. Questions? Yes?
Say I wanted to move the workspace from maybe this computer to another computer.
Yes.
Is there a way I can do that?
There is a way that you can do that. So you go right back to our Photoshop preference locations part, and you swim down here through all of this shit to try to find where custom workspaces are actually saved. And it's down in here. Let me see, I'll just do a quick search for it. So workspaces that are modified, this is where they are. So they are in that same preference folder in settings called modified workspaces. So for me to get there, I can go to my library, all the way down to preferences, inside Adobe Photoshop settings, all the way down to workspaces. There's two sets, there's workspaces and then there's workspaces modified. You would think the way you made would be the modified one, wouldn't you? They're not. It's in the regular workspaces, and this is where it is. And this is the only file that you need to grab. Grab this file. I call mine workspace 29, retouching 29, because I've made 29 of them. Drag this, don't drag it out, just copy this again to that safe place on your hard drive. And now any machine that you go to, if you want this workspace, you simply drop your file, your workspace file, into this folder, and you will have it. And you don't have to do all that. Cool. All right, guys, questions? Okay, last thing I'll leave you with. I know it seems like a lot. I promise, I say this to everyone. If you do the work, I will get you through this class. And I'll change your life. I'll see you next week.